That's it.
I know.
Mouse probably don't reach it.
Then I get it calmed down and then I'm like trying to go. I'm like,
They know.
he screams. You're screaming out. He's like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. I've got like 4 minutes. Like she's going now, so.
Hanging in here. What's the camera a little bit?
Can I have a pen?
Oh, yeah.
Whoever you guys hired to do the redecorating in here.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Scott, I painted it Saturday. Or Friday. Last
Finish one.
Come
Still in a pretty good mood about that.
Good day.
Also pretty tired.
Go Chiefs, right?
This should be a national holiday, and I normally take today off. But turns out, can't do that. First time I've ever had where I have more work when I get back after I take PTO. So
you're gonna vouch for that hold then at the end?
Super sick one day.
if it was the second quarter of a preseason game, would you have called it a hold?
Would I?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was a hold.
Although they came out and said.
Even though I hate
Yeah.
the, I hate the Eagles, so
Like, he
Yeah,
even said
the
I was
dude who
doing it.
did it admitted it.
Yeah.
I have a bias, but
Was the incomplete pass really an incomplete pass? He was on the move. And they
holding
called
it
it.
doesn't matter.
No, on the other one where the Chiefs lost. Yeah.
call a meeting order. Roll call.
Trevor Bundy.
Here.
Chaz Foster.
Here.
Riley Amundson.
Here.
Colby Jensen.
Here.
Julie Lyons not here. Joel Holscher.
Here.
Diane Neschheim.
Here.
Okay, start with public time. Days, you guys want to go?
Oh, sure. Starting. We got Janae and Lori and myself and Heather all here to the Colton Community Connected to cover some things for Country Days. Just before we get started, just want to give a quick rundown. There is still a little bit of confusion out there about the Colton Community Connected name change. Colton Country Days has not changed at all. It's still on 100% Colton Country Days. All we did was take our group, make it legal, turn it into a 501c3, gave ourselves a name because, you know, sometimes it sounds kind of silly to say the Colton Country Days is going to bring the Easter Bunny to town. You know what I mean? So, I mean, we'd like to expand, do a lot more things like that. So, kind of like how Crooks has their CAUT group, but they do the Crooks Days down there. We are just now Colton Community Connected, and we still plan and implement Colton Country Days. So I just wanted to make that clear. If anybody has any questions, they're always welcome to reach out. The other thing I want to mention was that we've lost a couple of members in the last couple of years. The one that we just lost that she had to go is going to hurt. We lost Stephanie Willis. She was our president, and she's going to be big shoes to fill. She did a lot. Without her, we wouldn't have gotten as far as we have over the last 6 or 8 years. I mean, she's been a key player. So we're really going to miss her. But we are going to be trying to fill her shoes. If any of you hear anybody out there that is looking to maybe get involved, we're looking to add a few members. We aren't asking anybody to come in and be our president. We don't need that. We just need more hands. And we're pretty much we've all kind of taken on a little part of what Stephanie did, like previous to Country Days weekend and things like that. But if anybody's going, what do they really want? We kind of want that organizer, ringmaster, liaison at the park on the weekend itself, because she really filled big shoes there too. You know, as vendors came in, she told them where to go. People had questions, you know, the music guys come in. It's just that person. And then of course, just to put some hands in anywhere else. So if you guys hear of anybody who's interested, we are accepting new members. Have them just reach on out. Okay, that being said, we don't have a schedule. We have it, but it's not prepared for you guys. Pretty much just the same thing. Not much has changed from previous years. I did get word from Jake Mitchell that they did secure the elevator to do the poker run again. Not poker run, I'm sorry. We had that on March 4th to raise money for the tractor pull. So, but the tractor pull will be out at the elevator again. So the new owner has okayed them to do that. Also, Seth, I can't remember if we spoke with you or not about a campsite. Country Day, so we're gonna request to get a campsite again so that we can use that electrical.
The 1 and 2, right? Or
Did
do
we
you
decide what we needed?
I think we only need one.
only
Just
need
one
one?
this
Okay.
This one. So, yeah, I
Because
think
then
we'll
we'll have
have
the panel.
just one, because we'll have the panel.
Right.
And then we kind of tossed around the idea, you know, since we've gone into sponsors and sponsorships and had different levels and things like that, we're trying to streamline it a little bit easier because it's been a great thing for us. It just gets a little chaotic the weekend of or right before. So we're thinking about possibly having like maybe doing more of like a sign put together for like our sponsors. And then we can have sign design, you know, put the, what do you call that?
Logo.
The boards, I mean, the logo boards or whatever on it. That's kind of still in the works. We haven't even discussed if it's something that we would just do banner form or sign form or whatever, but I guess the first place to start would be to ask permission if you guys would have a problem with us actually putting a sign physically in the park over the weekend, for sure. And if we haven't even discussed if it would be something that we could possibly have an area somewhere down there where we could leave it up all year long too, so that our sponsors could maybe get a little bit more of a presence.
Mhm.
We're tossing that idea around, so just kind of want to throw that out there. What else? Oh, we have event insurance. That was an issue last year. We kind of want to head that off early.
Okay, yeah,
So
instead of the week before.
yeah, let's take care of that. So yeah, so if yeah, I don't know. That wasn't my area. Oh, yes, and last year you guys were gracious enough to donate porta potties for the tractor pull and on the street. It'd be great if you could donate those again.
Okay. Just want to get in contact with Pete on how many you want, like the tractor pull, like how many did you guys have there last
I
year?
think there was 2 out there
I
last
think there
year.
was
for the
2 out
tractor
there.
pull.
Was that
Did they
enough?
put 2 on front on Main Street, or did we not do that?
I don't think we had any.
There was one
There
on,
was
there
one-
was one on Main Street.
I think we had 1 move to Main Street, and then I take care of my own in the back, but. for
Was
dance,
2
but
enough for the tractor pull?
I think
I
so.
think so. There was no issue.
So that we didn't hear anything about it after.
What,
Yeah.
total of 3?
Well, then we'll have to put a couple addition more down at the park too.
But do you add more or do you just move them?
I think we move them, but
Because you already have them down there for the
we'll talk
summer.
with Pete on, Pete did all the placement last year,
I
so.
think there was 4 at the hall, at the park, because they had them against the tennis court.
Tennis court. Yep.
Yeah, remember Heather?
What?
We were jumping back around to that event insurance because we were asking them to, we were confused on whether, because it
Well,
was done so
because-
fast and so quick. Where do we end up or what's the plan?
We ended up paying for it through white insurance, but it was like $900. But then when Trevor had talked to the insurance company, they could do that event thing and it was way cheaper. So we're just wondering if we can look into that to get it at a cheaper rate than what we paid last year.
Phone insurance, I think it was like $500 or something.
And I know that previous years we've discussed it too, and just adding that event onto the city's insurance was a lot cheaper than just getting our own policy.
Yeah.
Is that the rain insurance that you
No.
get? Oh, it's
No,
not.
this
Okay.
is just the
Insurance.
Just the event?
insurance if anything happens.
So, yeah, it
And then-
covers pretty much any event that we
Tripped.
sponsor on our schedule. Like, so even if it would cover like if somebody tripped at the parade. or
I
it would
think
cover at the
that's
park.
covered under the city's. Look
No,
into it.
Oh.
remember
Yeah, we
went
went-
through
There's
all
stuff,
that.
like, there's stuff at the
We
park
get
that we'll have, but so like, you guys will have to come in like the week before for all the vendors and get a hold harmless, so they fill all them out. so we're not responsible for any of that.
Yep.
And then the tractor pull also do all them pullers.
Yep.
And then, but everyday resident, hanging out at the park will have to have an insurance just to cover them. They get hurt or, and then like so you guys doing the bouncy houses and all that again then too?
Yes. Pretty
And
much.
then, but they're
nothing's
doing those, right? Like the bouncy houses
They
running
had,
those?
did we do insurance on them? See, that's the.
That's
hard
cheaper
part.
through them.
Pretty sure they have the
Yep,
insurance.
I did the
That's on
insurance
them.
through the
That's
bouncy house place. Paid the extra for that.
I remember talking to our insurance about that and they're like, it's cheaper to go through them than it's through.
I just know when you talk to Owen, it was a lot cheaper to go that route than what we did in the end.
For us
But
to get our own.
Cause I think it was only like $25 or $50 for that company and it's like another 500 or something.
I don't even think it was 500. But I'm just saying, if we can look into that now
Yeah.
to see how much it is.
Yeah, but it's similar to like what you were saying, Diane, like
Mhm.
where they do have it, it's just if we tack it on to your guys's, it's not as much, like it's just, you kind of pay like a little.
It's like a rider.
Just a claim, it's just a,
Yeah.
It's a rider versus
Yeah,
an
right,
entire
yeah.
new policy that
Right.
they're throwing together.
Yeah.
'Cause
and
over
it's
the
only
years,
for a certain amount of time, like
Mhm.
4 days or whatever.
Yeah, and like Heather, because you had to give them every event that we had, so that it had to be all listed on the insurance to make sure
Yep.
everything was covered.
So if we, I mean, even if we can save $400, to save.
And unless these girls can think of anything, I mean, we're
The only
still.
thing is the tractor pull, Jake
Oh, yeah,
wants
that's
to see if he can still use the bleachers like last year.
Yep.
Pretty much, he just wants the same setup as what he had last year. Janae and I got all those trash cans. He said he gave them to Pete, so I don't know where
They're
he has them
probably-
stored. But just pretty much same thing that he had done last year, went pretty smoothly, so he's just requesting if he can do that again.
We'll do that again.
And then, the swim. Lori?
Oh,
Did you?
No,
Okay, we're gonna table that one
Yeah.
for the next time we come then.
Or which one?
She said she's still gotta do some work on that yet, so
Okay.
we'll bring that one to the meeting the next time, so. Yeah, we didn't need a whole lot tonight. We just wanted to let you know that everything's in the works and not much has changed. And if you guys have anything that you'd like to see differently or changed for this year, let us know now, so. Otherwise, we're just pretty much gonna keep planning and keep
that sounds good.
rolling.
Thanks for all the hard work you guys do that weekend.
Yes.
Thank you guys for all your support and thank you for the donation.
Yes, thank you.
Because that covers all the bouncy houses and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that you guys all get credit for that.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thanks,
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
All right,
Good night,
thank you.
Pete not here tonight.
No, he's sick. Do you have something that?
Like baseball.
Verbal.
but I can just take a little bit.
What do you mean? Like, wasn't comfy for everyone over there?
The first home game for baseball, which I will be shocked if we play. It's like very early.
Playing through the snow.
April 3rd.
Birthday.
So that's the first high school game is April 3rd here. I don't see us playing that. But I'll get the schedule sent to Seth and Pete on that. And then we'll just go from if it gets canceled, removed.
Have
I
you,
just usually email in, letting them know.
you guys found anybody to do the fields? Like,
No. I mean, and the whole field thing is actually more an issue with the city of Crooks than it is with the city of Colton. The baseball thinks the city of Colton does an amazing job with the fields. They don't really have any forms. But if we're gonna go and ask one city for one, it's kind of just better to look that we're doing it on both ends and not one versus the other. And then if we set June 30th through the 2nd, I don't know if you want to block anything. We will have a 10U tournament for our end of the season. It comes around every 3 years. So it's our year to host. I am pushing very hard for that to be in Colton because we have 3 fields. So if you just want to pencil that in, and I'll let you know when we get closer. But we've always had it up here, and I'm not willing to change that. Otherwise, that's about it. It's snowing. It's snow out there, so I don't see us playing in a while.
I was gonna say,
But I'm more afraid, like, even if the snow melts, of how
It'll be
bad that
wet.
field's gonna be for the wetness. And
Yeah, anytime in April. I mean, until you get to the end,
Are we,
maybe.
are we planning on just the city just getting the chalk, staying on top of that?
if you guys are still willing to do that, like
It
that.
was less hectic last time.
So I mean, I don't know if that's something Pete or Seth, but I just go through the lumberyard and tell them that we need chalk in there, and I can go in there and let you know how much we have now. Should be some bags still left over from last year.
Do you know how many you usually use for bag wise?
Well, usually I start out with 10, but Legion also uses it too. And I know I go back and get more, but then, you know, if we're gonna do that end of the season tournament, that usually takes some too. So I think I've always kind of purchased about 14. And then, you know, there's always a few bags left over for the next part of the season, but. That's all I got for baseball.
did Pete talk to you about the, he got a cover or a tarp for the baseball
Yep.
mound? Yep, he did.
We
Okay.
got the mound all done, yep.
Yep, okay.
That was
So-
exciting to get that.
Thank my dad for the tarp.
Thank you.
And hopefully they're happy the dugout's done now, so they won't have to
Yes.
play all summer.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Pray we don't have any more starts like that.
I have something, Trevor.
Okay.
I have two questions. I missed most of the last meeting because I had my grandbaby with me. And he wasn't gonna stay here for me to ask a bunch of questions. In the December bills that were paid, I just have a couple some things to clarify. There was a Meyer Henry bill in that
Yeah.
December that was fairly large, like 6647.
Uh-huh.
Is Meyer Henry our city attorney?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the lawyer.
Okay, just curious, you know, when I look at the budget that we allotted for 2023, we only budgeted $2,500 for the entire year for attorney fees.
Yeah.
I'm curious why just our December bill was 6647, and are we projecting that kind of cost for 2023 and how we're gonna pay for it?
That went through all last year.
That was the entire year.
Correct. So
Yeah.
we have 6647 and we've only budgeted 2,500.
Well,
That's
a lot of
easy
that
math.
was when we were making the transition and getting things.
Okay.
kinda- So we shouldn't have to use that no
Okay.
more.
Yeah. we
Okay,
shouldn't-
that's what I was wondering. I wasn't
Yep.
sure if he was Meyer Henry or where he was.
Yeah.
That was
No,
it.
we just kind of wanted with everything switching, we kind of wanted him here.
Okay, and
just
I
to make-
did, he was here quite heavy, so.
Yeah, so
Yep.
now
He was here for-
he's kind of done. So now we always send him now a Teams meeting invite. And then
Okay.
if we need him, I send him a text message and he'll jump on now. So
Okay,
instead of him sitting here, so.
okay, all right, that clarifies that. And then I dug through the insurance, was it Bowen?
Yeah.
We had like 11 different pay.
Yep.
Were those annual
Yeah,
11 checks?
That's for the whole this year. That was just paying.
Prepaid 2023.
Mhm.
Can I get a breakdown? I was trying to come up with what I thought all 11 of those things were. One was clear because it was work comp.
Yep.
But what do we have 11 policies on?
It goes for it's one bill, and then I was copying what Heather had because it goes through. I think it's pulled from each different fund, like for in the funds.
Oh,
So that's why it's broken up.
so it's not a,
there's
10
not all.
different
No,
policies.
it's the whole. It's just.
The payout is gonna be, so in each block, it'll pay it out a percentage in that block.
Yeah.
So it ends up looking like it's almost looking like it's double or triplicated. It's actually not. It's just paid out. We have to break it out financially, and we have to break it out where the percentages lie, and that's what so it'll end up showing like 11 policies. It's actually not 11. It's just how it divided it out.
okay.
Yeah,
'Cause I
it's
was
just
trying to
like-
come up
I
with
actually had
everything.
I actually brought the same question up.
did.
So yeah.
Okay, that's all I needed then. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I had it explained in that. So.
I literally asked the same question, so I didn't know exactly what you were
And I was
asking.
pondered if it did come out, much like,
Yeah.
Jared's paycheck, like,
It comes out of
Yeah.
Cool.
5 different buckets. Yeah.
okay, all right, thank you, appreciate it.
Sorry, Stethos.
No, you.
I had already made you answer that for me. So
You got anything? Or you just kind of sitting?
Just sitting in.
No.
Public input. Yep, we're on public time.
Uh,
So I'll just take a second. That's
Yeah.
all right. Mike Ladmo, Superintendent Tri-Valley. Very rare that I can get to any of these, but we got done early tonight. Just want to introduce myself and we didn't have a meeting a couple months ago due to weather. I was able to get the Crooks one. And now this one, just want to extend to all branch if there's anything that we can do school wise with the city. Basically, I'm getting that. I foresee probably some homecoming parades coming forward in our future.
Okay.
And if we can kind of start those types of conversations between the cities and the school, I think it'd be beneficial maybe for everybody.
Perfect.
So just wanted to drop in and say hello.
And then after we are going to do our equalization the 20th.
Okay. Yep. I think Ryan appointed himself to that one.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And also, guys have anything for?
thank you for coming.
So you guys are doing a deal at TOP Hall, right? Coming up.
we are on Wednesday, 6:00. One Crooks tomorrow at 6:30.
What's that for?
It's an update on the building projects. So you kind of see renderings of what the completed job should look like. Kind of any changes that have been made budgetary wise, kind of here's what rooms will be where and what we think it's going to look like.
Okay.
So,
When was that meeting?
This Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah,
Is it-
small room.
You got anything? Just listening. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
Someone's gotta be.
Thank
a
you.
parent. Just kidding.
Make sure we get that recorded.
Move on to minutes. Stop real quick. One thing I'm gonna make an amend change. There's 2 sets of agendas here. I forgot to do that right away. All I'm adding on to it, we're not asking for any money. It's just the tower for the fire department,
There's,
the metro. Asking about, getting put onto our water tower. That's the only amended change I'm putting on. So
there's, one other one. It was, the job descriptions for, lifeguard, pool manager, and code enforcer. Here, and then also, planning and zoning's payroll,
Okay.
to talk about that. What's out there?
go back to minutes.
So do we have both copies of the agenda?
Yep, they're one after
The
the
second
other.
one will be the old one. The one that
Okay.
you're.
Okay.
Amended
that's what I
was, it says
Yep.
amended at the top.
Sounds good.
Do my job.
Anyone expect?
Questions or concerns?
Question about fire department. I thought historically, Trevor, we may have to pull, or maybe Seth, you know this. I thought when they added new members, we always listed them.
Oh, but listed them?
Yeah, we don't have the name.
Okay.
I can add them in there.
I just thought it was just I don't know why Heather always did, but I always
Well,
thought
that was back when the city had to vote on them. Now the
Is that
fire
what it
department's separate now.
You didn't say the names though.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
'Cause
did.
It was,
I just didn't know if it's
Page Quigley.
a process they want to continue or not, but
Mason Holler and.
Hollering, yeah. I,
No, just post names in there.
yeah, I'll get them added in. So.
Used to be on your insurance policy, now it's not.
that's I kind of figured it had something to do with the insurance. I just didn't know if we still wanted to carry that.
And there's a couple things, Seth, on public time towards the bottom. The Kathleen Putman, go down, then it says had put in for, should put he had. And it says, Jarrett for all the work he had put in. For.
Okay, I see that.
Then right above Public Works, Ramby also talked about the new members that had joined.
Any more discussion or concerns?
There's on the last page on this one. You get to the end here, it says Bundy presented a plan to hire code enforcer for the city. Discussion was had about the, and that quits.
Well, that is all that needed to be said.
That's all that
Diane,
needed to be
okay.
said. I don't know.
I'm wondering if
It's
you.
right before.
Oh, yep.
I wonder if you want to capitalize the title of the job as well.
Yeah, code enforcer should be.
I capitalized pool manager and lifeguards as well then.
Yeah.
Since their title is a position.
I'll finish that sentence.
Okay.
You really want to.
He was testing us to see if we'd find it right.
He's gonna have Tootsie Rolls next time.
It's like,
Every time we catch one, we get a Tootsie Roll.
phone must have rang about that time. Right?
Yep. Yep.
Other than that, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes.
I will second it.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay.
Is this for both of them or just the one?
I'll do both.
Okay, Sheriff's report. There. Move on to fire department.
Monty Koopman representing Colton Fire Department. I'll start off with, thank the members that showed up for our annual meeting. It was in January. Appreciate that. We had 4 EMS calls and 3 fire calls for the month since we were here last. And we had the 3 members that we talked about, got them on there. Start some training here in the spring. So be up and going. Paige Quigley will strictly be on the EMS of the department, so she'll be responding in that part. And the tower, appreciate your consideration on that. It's gonna help our communications greatly right here in Colton, for sure. We've had a dead spot here for 20 years. We're hoping to cure that and finally got some authority from the county, or higher up anyway, that's been willing to work with us on that. So appreciate your consideration on that as well. About all we got.
All right, thank you. Parks and Rec, so Pete's gone. All he was just gonna let council know is he's gonna have John Deere deliver that mower here shortly, so. And then I am working on, those sponsorship sign applications and letter to go out, so. If anybody would like to help with businesses mailing those out, let me know.
You're looking right at me.
I can help with whatever.
I
Trevor,
can
so
too.
let me know.
I can too.
I know Julie said she'd help too, so.
I'm really surprised you didn't try for South this time.
Yeah, I think it's set to break.
Seth isn't even making eye contact.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not here.
He's literally writing his phone number right just so he does not have to look up.
Any places to work. Otherwise, I don't know if anybody else has anything. Parks and Rec.
Let us know when you need help with that stuff.
Okay, have you maybe grab a copy and just have you glance through. I just bought a template and it comes with like 3 pages, so it comes with the cover, letter, introduction letter.
Okay.
And I'm going back to, I know we talked about doing one clear cut across the board, but thinking levels will be better. Also, we'll have more of an entry level. And then the last page will actually be an application form, which level you want. So.
Yeah, let me know what I can help with.
Okay. Public Works. Like I said, Pete's gone, so we don't have much there. City Administrator.
Okay.
Seth?
I'll start off with I've just got a time off request for the 17th. That'll be all day. That's it for the time off request. Just that.
It's a lot, Seth.
I know, I'm terrible.
Yeah.
It's a
I
lot.
don't know.
Otherwise, just pretty much meetings or trainings and.
Yeah, I've got, there on the 15th at noon is the CFOG. It's every 2 months. They have the finance officer meeting where all the ones in the area get together. I'm going to run to that. And then also on the 15th at 4:00 is the equalization training and information seminar. I'm going to run to that. And
Are these all held in Sioux Falls, or do you have
Yep,
to
they're
travel?
I'm going to have to travel to Sioux Falls for both of them. Yep.
Okay.
And then the election training those are webinars, so they'll just be. I just want to close the office for that time period, so I can listen to the webinars and all that and go through it. That's contingent if we even have an election, because we haven't got.
I still think it'd be important.
Yeah, I know,
it,
but
so.
It's we
Yep.
didn't. If stuff happens where I can't make it, it's not a big deal, you know.
Yep.
But I'd still would like to do it, but it's like
Yep.
And then finance officer schools back up June 7th and it's to June 9th. That one's
Is that the one in Pierre?
this one. I think that one's in Pierre. I think this round. And I would like to go to it again like I did last year, so that was good. I'm gonna jump around on here because there's a item to be addressed by council that deals with it. South Dakota Municipal League does a scholarship that'll pay for the hotel room and your travel out there and everything, and it needs to be approved by council before you can even start the application process. I've got the little printout after my the sheet with my time off stuff, and that's it.
We can just.
I just need
I'll make a
motion to approve it.
I'll make a
application.
motion on it.
Motion. I'll second it. Go with the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes. Okay.
Good job finding that.
Yeah.
Bringing it forward.
All right, we'll move on to, is that all you got, Seth?
Yeah, that's everything in with this, so.
Okay, we'll move on to claims.
I still appreciate how you do claims now. Thank you.
Makes it simple, not.
It makes it a lot simpler than trying to guess.
And the ready mix did do us good on snow removal, so
Awesome.
a lot better than I thought it was.
$6,275. Which,
One side dump and 2 straight trucks and a payloader running all day for days.
there's 2 payloaders running.
What, 2.5 days?
Plus at least 2.5 days. That's set my office in Washington.
Plus a scraper.
Yep.
Yeah,
They got nothing else
They
to
had
do.
the-
It was a busy week.
Mhm.
You just staring out your window all day?
Between that and the deer, I don't know how you get anything done.
That's true. Those deer runs, there was one exciting part of that week.
To be honest, I was thinking that was gonna be
I thought it
closer
was
to
gonna-
9, 10.
I thought it was gonna be closer to 10.
Yep.
Yeah, because we had to come through town and with the grader and drop their wing to try and wing some of that off too.
Mhm.
Then also about the banner ones, why there's so many, it's because it was frustrating me. They were emailing them and not mailing them to me, and the emails were going straight in my spam folder. And I don't check that, so and I talked to them and I got the gal who's emailing me listed so it doesn't go straight in the spam.
So are they mail? I did talk to our finance officer. I did talk to our controller. So are they mailing them or are they emailing?
They've only emailed the newest one. They emailed still.
What would you prefer?
I want mailed.
You want mailed?
So then they don't. This doesn't happen again. Basically.
Okay. And they never said anything to me, so I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah,
I guess.
they didn't tell. I didn't find out about this till January. Until it was January 20th, I think, when they talked to me, and it's just like, what are you talking about? I've been paying all the ones you've been sending me.
And with those, just to kind of add to that, reimbursement can't take place until the loan is closed.
Yep.
So once the loan is closed, then the reimbursement can take place.
So there is 2 things that I do want to talk about. With the Colton East development ones, are we paying those or the development?
Well, that was that was that very first, just to get going.
That was, we've already done that one.
Oh,
This
okay.
is October and November.
Well, we should probably start sending any more now to the.
Well, I
development group.
can strike these off right here
Okay.
and then we can send those ones to them.
Yep, we'll start sending that to the
Yeah.
development.
Okay. I just put them on here so it was listed if we were wanting
We need outside labor.
to get those strikes.
Seth, could you send me what that total is that you've been invoiced for the southeast, or sorry, for the development?
That would be
The Garrett's development.
275.
These 2 here.
Yeah, so
We got
just,
another agenda there too.
Do you have a total to date?
this is what it is. So from what they've sent us for that development, for what the development group should be paying. 'Cause we paid
Got
that first one,
275 and
that 280. Yep.
Maybe I'll touch base with you tomorrow, and because I want to look at what our software says and compare it to what you've been invoiced
Sounds
and
good.
just match it up, because that project should be closed out now, so there shouldn't be any more bills coming from that.
Yeah. Well, these are from October and November, so that
Okay.
was
Okay.
these were included in the ones that were getting emailed and not actually getting sent. And I wasn't getting. You know, so
Yeah,
The 23.
yeah, 23, 872 and 23, 884.
These ones here.
That would be for the survey and design of the phase 4 and 5 sanitary sewer CIPP project.
we can get those reimbursed with the once the loan and the
that's our sewer lining project that we're working on now.
Where is that in the town?
That's gonna be on 2nd Street. And we got our phasing map up.
Yeah.
Which I got.
Look at it all.
Everything else turned around for you.
The one we're missing.
I don't think, we don't have that one up yet.
2nd Street, Charles,
Yeah, what do we all come? I don't even
there's
have.
7,000 feet of it. If I add up 7,000 feet.
Mhm.
I'm not the engineer that did the design on it, so I didn't remember it all.
I'll pull it up here.
Is that gonna be like total new road or just dig up and fix the road that we ruined?
The lining portion of the work is all just the underground
It's just,
rehab.
it's just
Seven.
lining.
7,000 feet of lining underground.
Okay,
And then they're gonna rehab the manholes with the cementitious liner.
okay.
And then they are gonna replace the castings. So there will be some surfacing work that has to be done where they're replacing the
But very
castings.
minimal.
Very minimal. There are, I think there's 3 manholes they're replacing.
Okay.
There is and I'll go into it here as well with the bid award, but there is another scope of work that hasn't been bid yet, and that does include underground trench work. So it'd be on Second Street from Main to Charles. And then it would be on, there's a storm sewer scope on Sixth Street that goes from the ballpark going west to the railroad tracks.
Okay.
And then potentially, 4th Street from Park going east to Cemetery Drive or platted Cemetery Drive, which would be the extension of sanitary to the development area.
So this is that clean water resolution that we passed, that whole $5.
Yeah. Basically, we're just boring the current line and PVC lining it. Is that kind of what we're doing?
Similar to that, it's a cast in place liner, so they'll, there's lining companies that do this work. They'll come in, they've got a fabric that they soak in resin and they send that through the pipe and then they'll steam cure it usually.
Yep.
And it'll use the clay as a hose pipe and you're forming a new pipe
New
inside.
pipe right inside.
Yep.
Same thing as the PVC.
We're kind of really hoping
Similar.
that this will slow down that infiltration, water infiltration, and ease up on the lagoon, so we're not sending it all out to the lagoon.
For sure.
Then we can get, this money reimbursed back with the,
With that grant.
yep, with the grants and all that, so, yeah. We just gotta get that closed up and still waiting for that affidavit.
Have you heard any word on that yet? Give it to close out another loan so we can.
Yeah.
Any more discussion on claims?
You got one?
Yeah, Humane Society. We have to capture like
Did
animal
you
or
get a skunk or
something.
what?
That was,
It's like 4828.
Outside labor.
Just says outside labor.
we pull up, yeah, here, I'll grab I know where the invoice is, I'll grab that quick and
What?
Uh-huh. We were outside on the deck, yes, was last day, no.
Then one thing I'll mention is Seth, I don't think there's any late charges or any type of interest charge.
No.
We'll just carry that,
Yeah.
whatever it needs to be.
Well,
I actually
By the time I-
called the controller and I said, we'll carry it however long Colton needs to carry it.
well, I caught it by accident too, because I was looking for something through my email, and I typed in something, and I'll come up and came into my
Mhm.
spam. And so when I got set, I'm like, oh, what's all this here? Like, what's going on? And he's like, I just found out the other day too. So, which is kind of weird that some got emailed and some got.
Sometimes it's common with these funded projects that you don't get, because the reimbursement can't happen until you close these loans
Yeah.
and
What street was
try to
it?
get things out. Good. You have to move forward.
Chewing the deer out.
Yeah, we got poor deer who made home right center of the city, but
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Stray cat.
All right.
about straight deer in town.
Yeah.
They're cute, they're nice. But they're like
There's a
kinda
whole
like
bunch of
that.
rabbits running around behind my house.
Right. Rabbit.
All right. We have more discussion on.
I'll make a motion on claims.
I think motion. Second.
Second.
Second from Chaz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. He's abstained.
Hold it.
Oh, do we have something?
Yeah, there's things,
Sign design in
it's for the logo.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so we'll move on to you, Weston, now. You can.
Okay. Thanks. This is the presentation of the bids for the large scale sanitary sewer lining project that we were just discussing. Like I said, so there's two projects. This would be, I'll call it phase one of two. This phase one would be the lining portion. The second phase would be the trenching portion on Second Street between Main and Charles, and then the storm sewer scope of work down by the ball fields. So for this first project, or the phase one portion, bids were received January 12th of this year. And we had a total of 3 bids that were received. They ranged from $1,225,596.75 to $1,828,485. The engineer's estimate on this was $785,000, so quite a bit lower than what that low bid was. I mean, it appears that we missed the mark, and I'll say that's the current engineer's estimate. I did ask the engineer to kind of review the bids, and I've got that certified bid tab attached. There's probably a handful of items where there was a pretty large discrepancy between what the contractor had bid and what that estimate shows from the engineer's estimate. And I think you can kind of pare it down to maybe 3 of the items. A big one is mobilization, and then there's some work with doing lateral liners. Doing lateral liners, that's the portion of work that helps seal the main, the liner in the main to the lateral. A lot of times that's where we see the infiltration, is where those penetrations happen. Sometimes those laterals may have just been broken into that clay main. So when you do have high groundwater areas or during wet weather periods, you would see an influx and infiltration at those locations. So it's suggested to do that lateral lining, although it does come with a heavy cost to do that. But to provide an impact on the infiltration in the system, that's what we would recommend to do. And that's what we've done in the past. And other communities have kind of made that a common practice to do that. Now, back to the cost differential on those items, specific items. So I did go back and I looked at the original funding application that was sent into the state, and we prepared a cost estimate. It would have been in October of 2021. And then we further revised that in November of 2021 after talking with some contractors, and then after talking with DANR, talking with CCOG, talking with some other colleagues, and trying to figure out what other communities were doing, because prices were going up fairly quickly at that time. So we added in a fair amount of contingency at that time. So when I looked back at that budget that we had, that budget would match fairly closely with what we've seen for prices. Although that current engineer's estimate that was done pre-bid, and it was done by an engineer other than myself, but they went off of previous bids from the last year. And that isn't, and they were low on that, but it's just not applicable for the environment that we're seeing right now.
Are you saying material wise, or are you saying labor costs?
Availability, labor, material's gone up as well. I mean, it has. Labor's a big one. Mobilization, mobilizing a company to do the work. There's not a lot of companies that do lining work. Now, there's probably about 10 in the Midwest here. The company that's going to be doing this lining work is HK Solutions. So Holstein Excavating was the low bid. They're going to general the project. They've subcontracted HK Solutions to do the lining work. They're also known as HydroClean. I don't know if you guys have heard of HydroClean, a fairly local company. The other companies we received bids from were 605 companies, and then this Iron Horse company. They're out of Oregon. Other lining companies, generally, there's one in Minnesota. There's a couple in Iowa. Wisconsin has a few. So as far as South Dakota lining companies, HydroClean is probably the most local that we see. So with that going into the funding, I just kind of want to recall what that funding is to kind of help the city make that decision on award or non-award of the bid.
Yep.
So the funding that the city has received from the state is $2.6 million. And of that $2.6 million, $2.2 million was given a grant. So that's ARPA grant and state grant. So that $2.2 million is money that's not going to be paid back. The remaining $400,000 was in a low interest loan that was provided by the state. So similar to, if you recall, the past projects that were done on Main, First, and Glen, that would have been SRF loan. So that's that 400,000. Now, if the city does want to move forward and award this low bid to Holstein Excavating, that would leave a construction budget of just under $1 million to complete that remaining scope of work. And our original estimate, and we have done a 60% cost estimate on this remaining scope of work, it does fit within that budget. Primarily because we were so conservative back when we asked for the funding package for this ARPA dollars. And so I feel confident that, we can fit a fair amount of this work in the budget yet. Now, we don't have bids on the table, so it's difficult to give a guarantee on that. But from our estimates or opinions in the past, you're going to want to do as much work as you can with the funding you have. Also, we have kind of from reviewing the bids, there are some places where we could save some money on the lining project. We've talked to the contractor and they've suggested to us that they can do some of this work with some minimal access points, and specifically the lateral lining work. So we anticipated they'd want to have access from the main line and then access out on the property. So they would put a clean out in, they dig down to the pipe, they put a clean out in, so they had 2 points of access. And most of the time that would make things quicker for them, and it does. But with the bids that were received, the city could save a substantial amount of money if they didn't give that other access point. And the contractor is willing to do that work. They do anticipate it's going to take some additional time. And so they do want compensated for some of that additional time, but it would be an overall savings on the project.
So is that the only downfall of them doing that, is just the extension time? Is there another negative to doing that versus the other way?
So when you have that secondary access point, you have a visual on the liner when you're shooting the liner into the service. If you don't have that secondary point, like out in the property or out at the resident's home on that line, because they'll put a camera in that side, and they'll be able to see that liner being launched into the lateral. If they don't have that, they're going to call it shooting blind. And so there's more of a risk with it. You will have a post televising that'll be able to identify if there's an issue with that lateral. So I would say the contractor's taking some additional risk and the city would be taking some additional risk. But the potential savings are probably above $100,000 to take that risk. And so
So what happens? You shoot. So you say you go in blind. When you tell me that if that's not successful, what does that mean? Does it mean it doesn't seal right, it cure right? Does it mean it fits right? Like,
that means that it's not going to seal right. They may have a wrinkle in the liner and not know that until they come back and they do the post televising, because they still have to go verify that the work was performed correctly. So we're still doing that. It is, you may have some issues with that liner that have to be corrected. And normally doing something, doing it the first time usually provides the best product. When you have to go back in and do some cutting and some patchwork, you end up with
seams.
And an adequate product at the end, but it's not as good of a product as you would have had if it was done correctly the first time. Generally, it's not. I'm not going to say it's not always the case, but generally when you have to redo something, you may not get the same product that you would have gotten when it was done right the first time.
So we need to decide
if we're okay with that.
And we can, pursuing that forward, we've already started that conversation with the contractor because we wanted to know if there was some cost savings there. Yes, there is. So beyond the award, if you choose to award the project, then we would further that conversation and we, prepare the correct documentation and modify the scope.
Would they do that on all of them or just certain spots?
They may not be able to remove that access point from every lateral. It depends on what the lateral looks like when they do their pre-televising. Because on each of these laterals, they have to look at it first to determine how they're going to approach lining this lateral. So at the main, if there's a lot of bends at the main, then they may not be able to just do a blind shot, or they may not feel comfortable with that. If there's an issue with that pipe, maybe there's a break or an offset in that lateral pipe coming in, they may have to put that secondary access in so they can see that liner being launched into the lateral. So no, it's not a guarantee that you won't have it. It's just in areas where it's not necessary, or where they would feel comfortable lining without that secondary access point. That's where we remove it from the scope.
Okay.
So I guess, with that, is there any questions on project budget or specific scope of the work?
What was the difference in like just that part? So what were the 3 areas that were different?
Mobilization was a large one, so that'd be item 3.
Okay. And that's literally to mobilize it, so to bring the product or bring the individuals here to do the work.
It would cover all their bonds,
Okay.
insurance, their subs bonds and insurance,
Yep.
mobilizing subs to the project, mobilizing themselves. And then the other ones would be number 32.
Okay.
And number 30.
That asphalt, I figured out them too.
Yeah, 'cause that's a big difference too, number 7.
And I have had some discussion with Jared regarding the asphalt. A lot of that price, since it is a small quantity of asphalt, because the scope of work with the asphalt is replaced. So there's 3 manholes to be replaced, and then there's castings to be replaced. So the lids need to be replaced on top of the manholes as well. And so there's going to be a pretty small footprint area that's disturbed. And for somebody to come in and pave that small footprint, they're going to charge quite a bit because they still have to bring a paver, or they still have to bring a crew to come up and do the work. And you're paying a lot of mobilization cost, a lot of labor cost, because it's picking up and moving from point to point to point. Now, talking with Jarrett, and I've mentioned Trevor as well, since we do have another scope of work that's going to be trenching and replacing the roadway on Second, we could remove this from the contract, remove the asphalt work from this contract, and try to change order it on to the other contract. Because we would expect to see a more competitive price on a larger scope of work with that Second Street work.
We would just
So
have to.
it would be gravelled up to the top of the asphalt, and then that contractor would have to come in and remove that gravel down to top of base course grade and put a 4-inch asphalt mat in.
Would we be paying more for a change order though, with that level, that high, with that level of a project though?
So we'd have to do an RFP, request a price on it, and then compare and see what made the most sense.
Right. Okay.
Either way, we still have to put some type of surfacing down.
Yep.
And
just wherever what budget it comes out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And the hope would be is that contractor would provide a more reasonable price to do it, since they've already
they're already
mobilized
there,
somebody
yeah.
here.
It's already in the area.
Mhm.
Crazy to see the difference
I
in some
know.
of this stuff.
Yeah. Thousands of dollars.
I mean, you'd have to think though too. I mean, well, and that's the price to me too. They said it's all Midwest. So there's a chance a lot of their suppliers cross over. You're in the Midwest, so it's interesting to say it depends on how large of a customer they are for that supplier. They get a better deal.
So like HK Solutions, from what I understand, they buy a fair amount of product up front.
They just warehouse it until they need it.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so they have a lot more product available. They're buying a lot more footage of this fabric, to where other companies aren't able to do that.
Right.
Quite as large maybe as HK.
Do you need a motion from us on anything tonight?
So,
Yeah. we will.
so I will state too that, since the loan isn't closed, DNR will likely wait until the loan is closed to provide their approval of award. And so this award is contingent upon DNR's approval, because the state has to approve it prior to any funds. They have to make sure all the documentation's in place, all the requirements of the funding have been followed. And they have, and all the documents are in order. We're waiting for an affidavit of publication. And once we have that, everything will be in order for DNR to make their approval. Then beyond that, so with that notice award, we'll be sending an agreement to the contractor, and they'll provide their bonds and insurance, and that'll be reviewed, and then the city will then have to sign the agreement.
Okay. "51 questions are done."
No, good. They're all good questions too. So that brings, since you asked so many questions,
Uh-oh.
I've got one more. Do you think that the residents would appreciate a public meeting to explain what this project entails? Because it is going to affect quite a few residents. It's not going to take their roadway out of service, but there's going to be jetting and lining that's going to take place. So they're not going to be able to use their service for certain periods of time. And even during jetting, there may be some blowback up the service to where they might have a floor drain or even a toilet, not back up, but blow back. Yeah, gurgle a little bit, blow back some water.
I think the more we can get out.
Yep. So we can.
Is there any way you could create like a temporary, I understand with the flexibility of weather and things like that, but one of the things too is that our residents, they always wanted maybe a rough timeline. Is that something that we could provide if they come to that public meeting? What, it's just a one pager, just anticipating in the week of, like maybe we can't narrow it down to the date, but if they do see something funny with their water, they can look at the sheet and say, oh, it looks like this week they're in this space.
Or we can just do a timeline, kind of what we kind of did with that.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Just from people I work with in Madison, they go around jetting all the time, and it will suck your P traps dry. So then you'll get sewer gas in there. Well, one guy said, he goes, why couldn't they just come by and just hang a little door hanger on our door after they jet it? That way we know, hey, I need to go dump water down every P trap. Or the day before, hey, we're coming around, we're gonna be jetting this block the day before. I mean, it's just something to kind of think of. I mean, door hang, I don't know how much.
Well, we can do the
that
door
or
hanger and then
sign
we can,
too.
we can use sign and we can use the text alert too.
Yeah.
For residents, but door hanger is a good idea.
Did you volunteer to hang the?
I was gonna say, are you volunteering to?
And the contractor, so the contractor doing this work is responsible to coordinate with the residents as well.
Okay.
So they have that responsibility to coordinate, and that's something that Jarrett and I and whoever's going to be the individual on site, we're going to have to try to enforce that with the contractor and make sure they know that. So I think that's a good point. That's a time to make sure that get some information out there to them so they know that there's going to be some work performed and they might have a mess on their floor. Or they might see, if they do see some, smell some sewer gas, they know why.
How invasive is that scope that you would put down on laterals to like the homeowner's yard?
They're going to just hydrovac. They'll hydrovac a hole, maybe 18 inches wide. No, I'm not going to, there'll be guys stepping on the property and it might be a little muddy because it's a hydrovac. They're using a water jet and a vac truck, but
it's
you
not
pretty,
it's not like a big excavator coming.
They're not digging a hole.
Okay.
No. And unless something is messed up and they have to. I mean, that may be a case if we've got a service that's failed, we're gonna have to talk to the homeowner and figure out what we need to do. With that public meeting, some other things we've done is we sent out a flyer, so we can do like a water bill stuffer if we want to do that. And then at a public meeting, normally we'll just put together a project board and we'll have an aerial or, a map of the project scope. And then on the side of that, what to be looking for. So for instance, you may smell sewer gas after the jetter comes through, or you may not be able to use the service, while they're doing this type of work. And that's something we get the contractor involved into.
I think as long as if we have something for the public meeting and they can take home something with them too,
Mhm.
put on the refrigerator, a reminder. And the door hanger is a good idea too, but I just
Okay.
think that if they can throw something up on the refrigerator, so when they come home and it's 6 o'clock at night and
It's like, oh, that's why.
yeah,
I like the text alert and stuff too. like-
Yep.
Mhm.
So do we just target those residents that are along the project?
Yeah, we can
Might
probably
have
figure out that list of homes and we'll just maybe
Yep.
put a flyer up on their door, say when there's a
Okay.
meeting.
I think we
Oh.
can cascade it out to everyone through social media and the text alert. I mean, everyone can get notified there, but I think as for the mailings, those can go more centralized.
Okay.
How far does that jetting affect houses? Off of like, say you go past like the main street here, Fourth. Obviously you're not doing that, but say you go past Charles, how far down Charles does that pull from? So I know there's a pretty good vacuum when they jet. Would it
Yeah,
be just
but
like
they'll
those
have
couple
the-
houses there?
A lot of times they'll have that manhole open too.
Okay,
And so normally it would just affect that segment from manhole to manhole.
okay,
So generally, that's all I'd be concerned about.
Even if we did the whole block, it's still, our blocks are not that big.
There's not
Yeah.
many houses,
Notification,
there's not
yeah.
many houses on that block.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for that information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back to
Still need a motion.
Yeah, we need a motion on the Timothy bid. In our approval. Anybody want to make a motion on the board? 4 and 5.
Boards that in.
I'll make, or
It would be
it'd be Ward 1.
yeah. One. So Diane and
I'll make a motion.
Motion
Yes.
from Diane. Second.
Second.
Second from Chas. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those, same sign.
See, Trevor, I've got 2 notice of awards.
Okay.
I'll let Seth keep one.
Okay.
If you want to sign the bottom, Seth can keep one of them. And then I'll take one of them.
Okay.
It's either that or you can scan it in and send it to me.
Yeah. I think you do.
yeah. Right.
Okay, so we'll move on to resolution number 3-2023.
We can explain this one a little bit. So I got in contact with Chris Lema, I think, Leah, something like that, with Minnehaha Equalization. And last year, South Dakota changed the laws for the discretionary formula for it is before multifamily residential buildings, so apartment blocks and that such, because for how our formula was, it was for everybody, it was a 5-year plan. It was the first year 0%, so like for how it's for. Sorry, I'm bad at explaining it because it's confusing to me too. it's with how they're taxed next years following the finishing of their construction. And so so the first year they're taxed 0% and for that. Then it's 20% on the second year, 40 on the third, 60 on the fourth, 80 on the fifth, and 100% on the sixth. And that's what we have currently. Then, but we have to change that to a 7-year schedule for the housing one, and the state goes over, and I just copied what they recommended to do, which was 25% for the first 2 years, 50 for the third and fourth, 75 for the fifth and sixth, and 100% for the seventh.
Are we saying if the person building, so the resident building this has a construction loan? Or how are we at? Or what is
it's for their property tax. It's a tax incentive. If it's a break on their kind of.
Just multifamily?
No.
Does this go for business as well?
A couple pages back and I'll show you everything.
So,
Uh-huh.
is what from Minnehaha Equalization, from what they were telling me, it was for resident. That he was telling me it was for residential houses and stuff.
It says industrial and commercial.
Infrastructure additions.
For development. So they're non-contributing members of our society for the first 7 years.
Or they're partially.
Partially.
It's a ramp up period.
Well, I can see both sides of it. I mean, it's an incentive to get people to move here to build houses and stuff like that there, but you're still getting a lower tax base for the first 7 years.
So we're extending it from the current, which is 5 years, to 7 years. Is that what you're saying? Is that what we are asking us to decide tonight, or
Is that the state
that
law though?
The
right?
state changed it because if we
So we
don't
don't have
do
a
this,
choice on this.
we lose this entirely. Because we are in non-compliance with it currently. Because though we can come back, they just needed I talked with them. They just needed a draft so we can keep it for a little bit, but we need to get it figured out quick. And how I understood it, this was correct, and I had Patrick look over it, and he said it was correct. So
they want us to adopt this, then is what they're saying.
Yep.
And if we don't,
we lose the discretionary formula entirely.
And it goes to just 100% all the time,
Mhm.
no matter what.
Because we won't have one because it's not in compliance. So it means it's invalid. So though we could still table this because he just needed a draft, so they had something so that they know that we're working on it.
Yeah.
Is what
But
he
this
said.
isn't- This isn't throughout everything that's getting built. I mean, this is, if we want to impose this, we just need this.
I mean, is this what Crooks and stuff is doing with all their expansions and stuff? They got this formula that they're using. Do we know that?
I don't know.
I don't know. Because I know the first section in the resolution is what we have currently is our discretionary formula, but I don't know about anybody else.
Says it shall.
Sheldon.
so if we were to table this to give you time to do some additional digging as to what our neighboring municipalities are doing, is that enough to say that we've seen it and it's been in front of us?
I've already sent him a copy of the draft because he said if you've got it on the agenda, that's good enough for him. And it was on the agenda and all that, and he just needed a copy. That we're looking into it at
That we
least.
discussed it.
Yep.
I agree with you.
I think with the potential for the economic development group and what we could potentially becoming of Colton, I'd be curious to know what Crooks adopted, being the fact that they're expanding so rapidly. And we can only hope that Colton can expand in that same field. I would just be curious to know.
What about our economic development team? Do you get any feedback from them on this? As far as if
I just
this is what they're thinking or?
I kind of want to do some more research on this a little bit
yeah,
more.
I just went and, because we needed just something to talk about, so I went and quick wrote something. And we needed to be talked about, and I needed a draft of it to send
Yep.
to him. So
I'm fine with tabling it for our next council meeting in order for us to gather some more information. If everyone else is.
I agree with that.
I agree.
Yeah, it says you may adopt a formula. It's not a shall adopt, it's just a may.
Do you need a motion for that or anything?
No, just to table it.
Just table it? Okay.
Okay, we'll move on then. Resolution 4-2023 recreational trail program application sponsorship.
okay, so this is with that. Sophie went over and sent me a grant for a trail, and I talked to her, and we did some looking, and this grant can be applied for that development for the walking path, and so we can, if we make it an asphalt path, because we can't do the grant doesn't cover concrete, but I think Weston, you were saying there might be some slopes we'll need some concrete.
Does it, and I haven't read through it, does it specifically say that it won't allow concrete?
It says it's for asphalt. It
It
says
does.
concrete's no, but I wonder if we can get that, like what we were talking with the street grants, that with the street lights, if we can get that in under our 20% that we have to pay, because it's an 80-20 cost share.
Yeah, so if we put
Yeah.
the concrete in, that's our
And the development group would be going after this. It would be not
Yeah.
us, but Sophie needs the city to go and approve that we're to look into it. So
That, the grant is through the game fishing parks.
game fishing parks, yep.
I think this is pretty much the same one that Hartford uses.
Hartford do concrete though?
No, they did.
On
but-
slopes there, they can do concrete because you need the traction on the slopes. But I know the DOT also does one too. A shared use path, which is how they're getting, Hartford has one, Madison has one.
Brooks is down.
at the Madison one, that goes all the way to like kind of like to lake and all that.
Yep, and I'm sure that's probably the game fish and parks. So I think in here it said the game fish and park may request in connection with the app,
Mhm.
like they might request hey, can you connect into this park?
Yep.
We don't have it in Colton. We don't got no game fish and park ground here.
No.
City. We're not the city of
Yeah, I was
Montrose.
gonna say, we're not the
On
city.
the
of
top, it says City of Montrose on the top.
Yeah.
Scratch that.
Roads.
I was waiting for me.
So we got that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Gotta give Sophie a bad time for that because she sent this to me.
No, we kind
So-
of improvised, well, Weston, you kind of sent over a plan on that. How it come through the development.
I love this idea. I think it's awesome to connect both the existing city with the new park. I think it'd be great.
That's why you sat there.
Yeah. I actually had somebody bring it up to me today.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Look at that, we have a banner.
I think it's a great idea.
So what were we talking, you remember, I know,
Yeah.
Weston, what we were talking about kind of coming down.
4th Street to, future B.
Yeah, coming down.
There you go.
And then, I can't remember, were we coming down this way, or were we gonna try and come this way?
Yeah, I believe it'll go south on Park Avenue and run in between the trees and the small field.
Yep.
And wrap around right field to the big field.
Yep.
And connect into the, pool sidewalk. And kind of somehow connect into the memorial there as well. Then you have to kind of bring it back into the entrance to the ball field. I've got a map. And I'll share it with Seth, and Seth can distribute it.
Yeah.
I'll email it out.
Don't say anything, let Kyle stand there.
We're gonna give them another 10 seconds before us.
No, you're good. So, and I think if we would do it, we keep it like maybe 20 feet or so, 25 feet maybe you can kind of see, if you look at an aerial map, you kind of see like a natural walking path that everyone drives through.
Yeah.
Or walks through. Kind of keep that, because then I think it would actually work for, country days and all that. They could
Yeah.
set vendors up.
Yep, I think it's a great idea.
So we just gotta make a motion so
Yep.
she can
Yep, she's gonna start,
file this.
yep, soon we can start working on the paperwork for that.
Can we make a motion with the title change, or do we have to make the motion with the title change?
Want the title change?
I think we specify the motion
Motion.
with the title change and then.
Question, is the city paying for this or is the development group? Or
Well-
is it gonna be kind of split since it goes into?
Well, probably, can't say, can't speak on behalf of the development group, but since it's a good portion of it will be going, into the park, the city will probably have to pay for that. So, we'll do the 20% on that.
The walkway already figured out with the grants for that the economic.
Well, and a
development.
portion of that, but that's where I'm saying, like, I can't speak on part of the group, where the group can probably
We'll have
make
to
them vote to help pay for some of that too.
talk about that. That's
But
next
so
week.
there, we already have it figured in the development cost. Not coming through the park though.
Yes.
Just
but
in the
with-
development
Yeah,
part.
within the development.
So
Well,
I think that they could be a split of the development will take care of that 20%.
Yep. And then the grant will help out the development and the city at the same time, essentially.
The sidewalk won't be eligible for grant dollars.
But can we just do that all asphalt then?
Asphalt.
Through the,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because we can do asphalt on everything
'Cause when will
except
we
for
go?
the slopes, right? You're saying.
I'd have to look into the asphalt versus concrete requirement. I don't specifically know that one, but I do know as far as the housing infrastructure grant, that will only cover curb and gutter, some street. It'll cover water, sewer.
Yeah.
Mhm. I don't think that the sidewalk will be an eligible expense.
The sidewalk or the walk path?
The walking path or sidewalk, either or.
No matter what material it's made out of.
Right.
So you're saying we gotta table this one too until we get more information?
well, we just got to figure out how we can do that through that development. Or we just,
Well, it can be done through the development. I think the resolution tonight is to determine whether you want to seek out any grant funding or a funding source to put in a walking path.
I guess this isn't saying that we're definitely doing it.
No, you're just looking
Just
to
to
the
the
dollars.
approval
But-
to start looking.
I went ahead and
So we can start.
Okay, so you basically need a motion to approve resolution for 2023 with the name change, the city of Colton.
Yep.
I'll make that motion.
motion from Joe,
I'll second.
second from Diane. All those in favor? Aye.
Good.
All those, same sign.
Was there anything else on the agenda I could stick around for?
I don't.
Do you want to become our lifeguard?
Pool manager?
You know what? I could use a nice tan during the summer.
That's what it's all about is the tan, right?
Okay, actually, there's one thing I'm gonna skip to, because I kind of want you to be a part of this if we
Okay.
do this, if we do impose this. So I'm gonna skip ahead to item I, summer sewer rates. So I know we've had a couple residents that went into the summer sewer rates, like they asked for it. And some didn't know about it, but so you take your average through the winter cost, and then in the summertime, you'll get, what you paid average. We impose that, because I was actually looking for like more of like an application form if someone came in, but I kind of searched around in other communities, like I think Brandon and Sioux Falls and Hartford, they just automatically impose it. So you go from, they take from August to March, your average on the sewer rate. And then that's what you'll pay during the summer. So you're not getting a discount on your water. You still pay if you use this is just to help people if they want to water the yard or fill a pool up or whatever, or water their garden. So there's no discount or anything. You're still going to be paying the same water bill and same sewer bill. If you just use more water, you're just not going to be paying for the sewer. Now, do you see any harm in that? I mean, we got to be dumping a lot of water in the house down the sewer to do any impact on our, because the whole deal is to, we're not paying the sewer going out to the lagoon.
So right now, what you're doing is you're charging that water usage on the
If
sewer.
someone's watering their yard, they're paying the sewer.
So you're looking at modifying that or changing that to reduce the cost of the sewer during the summertime.
Because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of residents that won't do anything, so nothing's actually going to change for them. But if you are going to water your garden or fill up your pool or water your yard, you're still going to be paying for the water. You're just not going to pay that extra money because you're not putting the water down your sewer.
So are you saying you want to just impose it across the city?
Across the whole city. But on a tendency, if Seth can figure out a quick access form to get into everybody's water bill to average it out.
Is there any concerns of us once we grow and that Garrett's addition is operating and that brings in extra individuals, and if they have pools and gardens and lawns, like where are we sitting for capacity on a water tower?
Well, yeah, I think we're okay on our water tower, but we're going to be having their Weston and I and Peter set up a meeting here to do our ask for more water here coming up too anyways.
So,
well, so like watering lawns and gardens and stuff, that contributes to things like infiltration stuff into your sanitary system. Not saying that's, I don't know how much of an impact it is.
Yep.
We'd have to investigate it to see. You probably one of your bigger impacts is probably sump pumps during wet weather periods. You will realize, less dollars on your sewer income or revenue.
Well,
because you will be reducing that bill on sewer.
Well, we're not reducing the bill. The water bill, their sewer will still be staying the same.
But during the summer months, if somebody uses 5,000 gallons versus 2,000 in the winter, you won't get that 5,000 gallons of sewer.
You won't get that 5,000 gallons of sewer.
That's silly. It's getting thrown in their yard, not down their
Oh,
drain.
That's why I'm saying, you have to be doing something crazy inside the house to be throwing that much water down the drain.
Oh, for sure.
But that's why I'm just wanting to pick your brain on it. Everything about infiltration. But
in the past, so like this past summer, you did charge for that.
Yeah.
Right? So you did bring in revenue on the sewer side.
Yeah.
To where if that policy changes, then you're not going to realize that revenue anymore.
No. And I think it is probably throughout the whole summer, probably $20, $50.
Something like that.
$20, $50 per resident,
Mm-hmm.
that if they used it like they're watering their yard every day or whatever, or they, did use a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to decide as a council, are we prepared for that revenue not to be there? Regardless of how large or small it is. Are we prepared for it not to be there? I understand it's a benefit to our residents. I'm a resident. I understand that. I'm just curious to know when we're looking at, I wouldn't want to start something in 2023 that then we're looking at in 2025 or 2024, whatever, when that Garrett's edition kicks off, that then we have to re-evaluate, and then it looks like we're kind of retreating because we no longer can sustain that.
Well, and then if it got to the point where that you'd have to have specialized water times.
Right.
Yeah. My question is though, is it really an issue? Is there a lot of people
The thing is when they took over or whatever, I've had several other residents, there's about 5 of them that I know of, came in and, hey, where's my summer sewer rate? I had no idea. And so digging in, like, yeah, they just came in the other, and then she just changed it for them. So I kind of asked around to some other residents, and they're like, well, no, I didn't know anything about that. I didn't either. So how do you, that's where I'm going now, is how do you either got to give it to everybody or we just completely off the table. I mean, we have to make that decision if it's
Do you think this would, and again, I'm thinking larger picture here. Do you think that if we're encouraging like pools, like I don't know what the economic development group has decided, but are we going to encourage in-ground pools, above ground pools? Is that in any way, shape, or form, does that take away from the efforts to, you know, do the sustainability on the pool in town? If everyone's going to have, if we're encouraging the fact that you have a discount, you have maybe access to now pool water that maybe before you would have been more reserved on because the bill would have been there. Is there a consideration of that we need to think of?
we have talked about that because we're just starting on the development side. We're starting to cover.
Right. And I don't even know if there's a
there-
thing you can do for that.
We are doing a covenants on pools in the new development. Now we can impose it on our,
What does
Current.
that mean?
what's that?
What's a covenant on pools?
So like having a restriction on what you, like, where
The size of
size
pool.
of a pool and how much, you know.
It's probably gonna be by gallon.
Yeah,
Also.
or, you know, just.
So people own their homes, but they can't do what they want on their own property. Is that what we're doing?
Well, not necessarily. It's just like, so if you have a backyard, I think it's gonna go off of allotted size. Like you're not filling up your whole
Mm-hmm.
backyard up with a pool, and it's gonna go the same thing with outbuildings too, you know, like a shed.
Yeah, you can't use up more than 50% of your yard.
That's not really your yard.
It is, but you gotta, that
When
includes structures,
you
sheds.
buy the property, they have to tell them the covenants.
Yep.
So you know what you're buying when you buy it.
I wouldn't buy one if somebody said you can only have this size pool. I'd be like, then I won't live here.
There's a
That's
lot
like
of
an age, that's
communities
like
that
going
have
to,
those covenants though,
Yeah.
as far as
But
sheds go.
I kind of agree with her though, to a certain extent. It's our property, you know, why, you know,
Mhm.
as long as, you know, the fence is the same as the neighbors and the houses looks like the neighbors. I mean, who cares if my pool's a little bigger than their pool? You know,
Well, and I said we're just in the beginning process of the covenants, and that's been talked. Nothing said stone on that. So, but
well, here's another thing about this water. Maybe we should have, if a resident comes down, like for myself, I'm a big gardener. I come down at the beginning of April or May when I get ready to plant, and I pay a $20 fee to opt out for my summer watering, just like you're suggesting. So that way you're still getting revenue, but then I get it on the backside because I'm not paying all that for the sewer going down the sewer. That way, you know, each individual that it's opting out of it. Just something to think about. I mean,
still getting the revenue of the water being used. They're still
Yeah,
running it through their meter.
yeah. So
You're
that's
just
what I'm trying to say.
charging
Like
them.
nobody's getting they're just getting a break of you're not buying something that you're not using. That's what I'm trying to say. You're not using the sewer, so you're not buying the sewer.
They're averaging what their typical sewer dumpage is. You're
Yep.
still being charged that.
Yep.
It's not the increase of the extra water. You're still getting the extra money of the
Yep.
extra water.
Yeah, you're still paying the same on water, you know. So it's something. Then we'll
Gonna see that difference from the previous year to the, you know, when it comes to budget,
Yeah.
because we've always, that's the only thing I see.
Well,
Yep.
Look on
You
the
know.
flip side of that coin. If you're gonna give them a reduction on their sewer, they're gonna use more water, which is more revenue for us. Because that's where we're making our money is on the water, not the sewer.
But and that's back to my original comment about the water tower and the sustainability. And we're looking at serious growth with that Garrett's addition.
you know, they just do like all the other towns and cities do, that you can own water on even and odd days, that kind of stuff.
Well, that's what
You got a time period, so you can't water at 1 o'clock to
4 or 5.
4 o'clock in the middle of the day because that's pointless, you know?
It'd be nice to see an actual form with different community and see how they do it.
Yeah.
And
So
how
like
it
I said, I
works.
kind of really dug into it and looked around and because I was trying to actually look for an actual form to see if we could just kind of piggyback off that and everybody just automatically imposed it.
Can I give my opinion?
Uh-huh.
We all get a water bill every month. Everybody gets a statement, right? Because I'm on auto debit and I still get a
Yep.
little bill. If you were to have something closer to those summer months, like a little message to the back side of it saying if you'd like to if you water your garden or you have a pool that you fill, stop by City Hall to opt in to a sewer rate thing.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't. I don't water enough, so I wouldn't even opt. You know, I don't have a pool and I don't water my garden
Well, that
enough.
might be a better route because then Seth's not going through.
Everybody in.
Yeah, just an opt in, but that widespread could be used right on those little postcards you send out.
I don't know. You got to look at the other side too. I mean, if we can get people to, you know, green up their yards and everything a little bit nicer during the summer. Because I mean, I had a lot of residents ask too, like, well, if I would have known that there was a summer rate, I would have opted into it, but watered my yard. But I mean, if you think, how do you think we're on the structural side and everything of doing it? I mean,
Well,
you think you're worried about the infiltration?
I don't know. I don't know how big of an issue. I mean, if it's a wet period of year, there's probably not as many people watering gardens and yards
Yeah.
because it's wet. So that's where it would impact your sewer system. Like I said, you're probably getting more impacts from just people probably pumping some pumps into the sanitary drain.
Well, I'm saying that's where we're trying to figure out how to. Pete and I have been kind of brainstorming how do we make an incentive for people. I mean, we're probably going to try and start doing a campaign on Facebook and text alert and just to once summer and spring starts coming, transfer your sump pump to discharge because you're supposed to discharge out, not into our system.
You could smoke test. You could push smoke. If they are discharging into the sanitary, yeah, you just have to go into each house. You'd have to go to no
Well,
pumpers. You wouldn't be able to smoke
they'd have
test.
to let us in, and, you know,
Mhm.
and look,
Yeah.
which I think with going forward, you know, with this, I mean, we can't impose it now, but moving forward with this new development, we will have a sump pump, looking at doing a sump pump inspection, you know, make sure that it is getting discharged out. Because because it does put a big strain on the system with the sump pumps.
I was told there's a way you can tell. There's a
Well,
guy I work with, he knows them.
Okay.
There is a way you can tell if they're dumping into the
Well, and I think the thing is, I don't think anybody in town's maliciously just doing it.
They forget about
it. So if we just maybe start a campaign, hey, reminder, start discharging them out.
Yep.
Throw it on the water bill, throw it on the sign.
I don't think, I mean, you might have a few people that, hey, we're gonna get one over the city, but
Yeah.
I think everybody else, in the most part.
It's just fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there's strain on the infrastructure,
And
hypothetically saying, if there is strain on the infrastructure, how would we know that? And how long would we be able to sustain that strain before then we start considering that we have to either do a reconstruction, there has to be reinforcements done.
I think you'd have to investigate it and
Right.
probably monitor it to determine if there was an issue with
The
it.
restraint on the infrastructure.
I mean, I guess, I mean, I don't see. I mean, there probably maybe a little bit of usage, home-wise, residential-wise, in home more, you know, knowing, but I mean, you got to be using a lot too. And like I said, Pete and I kind of talked about it earlier today too. You know, yeah, probably right away everyone might use it, and it might kind of get abused a little bit. But going on, it probably settle back down. Because you're gonna notice it once you start paying your water bill, oh, hey, it's not a discount, you're still paying your water.
Right.
I mean, we're looking at, I mean, what's our average on the sewer right now? I can't remember. I mean, you can pull mine up, see what our average,
Second.
sewer.
That's very much.
No,
I think it come down to what is that lost revenue?
Single
And
man.
are you
If we're
willing
prepared
to give up whatever revenue you were?
Well, that's just it. We need to figure out how much revenue we're gonna be giving up, you know, and it's all gonna kind of depend on who will, you know, if we do it citywide.
I don't know how you can really state it as revenue because you're making them buy something they're not using. That's
To piggyback off that, until we have 1,500 residents living in this town, let's table it. I mean, we're making mountains out of molehills on this, and the revenue stream is consistent right now, which you guys have.
Yeah.
But that's my bank.
But I just gotta tell some of the ones that have been using it,
You gotta,
where we're
usage
going,
around this table. I know.
where we're going from forward, because I didn't let them do it last year because it wasn't imposed. And there wasn't, you know,
Not loss of revenue, because they weren't being charged this prior years. This was their first year ever they were charged in 11 years.
the people that did do it.
The people that you heard from.
Yeah.
Got a special sewer rate, so it's not a loss. Because last year was the first year you'd ever gotten it. And it's, in my opinion, they're not using the sewer system, you shouldn't be charging them.
That's what, I just kind of want to know what the.
Your sewer is $22.
$22 average.
That's what this month.
Oh. Yeah.
Kids piss on the floor.
I don't know. I mean, we don't have to vote on it because we still have to do a resolution on it.
Mhm.
So just think about it. I mean, if we want to have Seth write up a resolution, then we can actually vote and have further discussion. You guys kind of think about it. I mean, it's pretty much we're tabling it right now, but we'll have a resolution. And that'll be the time going forward. I just kind of wanted everybody to understand where, because I got to have an answer for people that did have it.
I think if we had some data around it, our numbers, and then also understanding as a council, like, the wins and the potential risks of it, and understanding that we want to start the way that we want to start with this, and with the expansion, the money that's going into the infrastructure, the sewer. I mean, the amount of money that's going underground right now that we already sit at this table and people are like, there's a lot of money going out. And we're saying, yes, there is. However, you can't see it, but it is there. It's in your water. It's in the water lining. It's in the sewer lining. It's all this work that centralizes around it. And yes, it's a benefit to citizens from April to August. But I also am strongly looking at numbers here and consistency, and the fact that we don't want to have to put any more on that water bill. Like, we don't want to have to ask anyone for any more additional funding unless it's absolutely needed. Maybe the consistency of the revenue, whether it's great or large, the consistency of revenue could potentially avoid an additional cost of something later on. I just want to make sure that I'm here. I'm a resident. I have kids. I love to water. Like, my daughter leaves the water hose on and it's an hour later and I don't realize it. Like, I mean, I get it. I just want to look I want to look at this from different angles.
No, I hear you.
So we're just gonna table it.
Well,
till next
we
meeting?
can't. Well, we'll still write up a resolution. Next meeting, we'll vote on moving forward with it. We'll have all that data. I'll actually get the true numbers. So let's just say they use 10,000 gallons. What the cost difference on that per month? So, okay, we can move on. And that's pretty much all I need from you.
Sounds good.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Accept it.
I'll get a hold of you tomorrow. I'll get you the Stuff you need just Trevor to sign. Or did you sign?
I just signed it.
I,
Oh, you
I,
did?
I've got that, so I'll send out that and the agreement tomorrow.
You wanna send them the layout of the
Yep.
sidewalk?
I'll send that layout as well.
Okay, thanks, Weston.
Thanks.
Have a good night. For an equalization meeting, we're gonna do that March 20th. We talked about depending on how many people we get coming in. So what's the earliest that we want to start?
Do we have any interest that we know are coming in yet?
Not yet, because we haven't set a date, so.
Okay.
So,
You said March 20th?
yeah. So if we get a bunch of
What's it,
people, we'll
fall
probably have
one?
to start
It's a
early.
Monday.
So like 5 o'clock the earliest. Good. I mean, if we only have like 3 people or 2 people, we can start at like 6:30 or something like that.
Yeah, this, it doesn't take.
But if we have like 10 or 15.
I would say 5. would be
Yeah,
good.
I'd agree with 5.
Okay.
5.
And then,
March 20th?
We do every 15 minutes, or what do we do again for increments?
yeah, we can do probably every
20.
15, 20, I think 20.
Okay.
Discussion.
Trevor, what is that for, the taxes?
The equalization, yep, then where they come and talk about wanting their taxes lowered or,
We can't make any type of decision. We just can give recommendation. If we,
To the
Well,
county.
yeah, we just, yeah, we can't say, yep, that's for
can't say
sure,
yes
we're
or
gonna
no.
shut it. Yeah, we'll give you, we're the middleman. Yeah, yeah.
we're the paper collectors in it. 5, yeah.
Well, that's the earliest, we'll send it,
Earliest we'll start.
we'll start. If we, like I said, if we only get probably 2 or 3 residents that wanna come, then there's no sense of us rushing in here at 5 o'clock. We can do that like 6:30, but
How many did we have last?
3, 4, wasn't very
That
many.
wasn't very many.
No.
but the year before that,
They went up significantly this year, though. I bet you.
They went up a lot this year.
Yeah.
I think the year before that, wasn't it?
Oh,
We had like
They
11
went
or
up a
something
lot.
like that.
Yeah.
Moving forward, petitions for candidacy due February 24th.
Yeah, that was just a reminder.
Who do we currently have for candidates?
Matt, Chaz, and Julie.
Okay.
That's it. So,
Okay. And then we do re-election of officers though as well.
Yep.
Okay.
So then Golden West Town Hall, February 16th at 6:30. I'm gonna try and be there. That's the whole. I don't know if you guys heard about Golden West coming through.
Is that the
for an
fiber
easement.
optic
Yeah,
stuff?
for that easement. So they're gonna come explain to residents. Kathleen's already dealing with it full force.
They're staying off my property. I'll park a
They're trying to
semi
go
truck
through,
back there.
they're trying to go through her backyard.
Going through mine, go.
You have an easement?
They sent you an easement? Cause yeah, the easement shows to your guys' property, cause you guys were the 4th edition. But they're trying to say they have it 10 feet on our side too, but they don't. I went down the register of deeds. They have nothing on our.
Oh, the easement they sent me was it ended right there at the end. It never went into your guys' property.
Mm-mm. No, it goes up to halfway through my south neighbor's
Yeah.
yard.
No.
Yep. But they have something for everybody on the other side of the property line. So they just need to make sure they stay up there.
Just make sure they don't tear the shit up.
In 1980,
Yeah.
somebody gave that up
Well,
What is that? That's right where my garden's at,
in your garage.
in my
But
garage.
I texted him from the register of deeds. I'm like, ha, they're on your side, not mine.
I mean, the thing is like they probably won't disturb anything because they'll probably bore everything.
That's
But
what, that's what they said.
But
But
if they have to ever, if there's a break or something, then they'll have
Well,
to.
that and every so many feet, they gotta have a splice. That's what all those little orange and white deals are. Or are they orange and, or white and yellow, whatever color they are.
Yeah.
Those little plastic sticks that say fiber on them. You know,
Is this to run cables so they could potentially become?
Fiber optic.
Fiber optic.
Oh,
I don't know why they don't use the setbacks. I don't know why they're going through backyards instead of front yards. They already have everything in front. I told them they can go in front of my yard. I don't care.
go on out there.
In my backyard.
So we can kind of show up to that. I'm gonna try and be there.
Less hassle. They don't deal with all the other lines.
All that's up there is maybe water though.
water,
In
yeah.
our
The
area,
gas. Too.
gas.
SDML conference, October 3rd through the 6th.
Who's all wanting to go to that?
Do you guys have any more discussion on, or do you guys have you talked to anybody that wants to go?
That was in Sioux Falls.
No, that one's in
Rapid.
Rapid City. This is,
That's the
you
one
may
where
wanna
like,
listen in on this, Matt. This
Yeah.
one. South Dakota Municipal League Annual Conference is October 3rd through October 6th. And we're seeing who wants to go on council. Well, and it's
kind of a bunch of workshops and all that.
Yep.
And
It's
just, it helps you become better at what you're doing.
Yep,
you
they've
know.
got election workshops for elected officials. They've got stuff for finance officers, public works, street, also for street directors. They got police chiefs, all sorts of stuff.
Did you ever, I'm sorry.
It's for everybody. There's a ton of people who go to it. I'm just
So what's the deadline that we have to,
They don't have that out yet, but the sooner the better we get our hotel rooms booked, because from what I was told last year, they fill up quick. And we want to try and get in the Ramcota, go to a hotel, which is where it's being held at, so then we don't have to drive around Rapid City and all that.
say,
Is there any online opportunities to listen in on any of the workshops? Do you know?
Not to my knowledge, I don't think so.
They're not doing any kind of Zoom
I
or
don't,
recording.
Could you check
recorded
on that
session.
just in case?
yeah, I can, but I don't remember them doing it last year. I don't remember anything like that last year.
Okay.
So,
It's not the best time of year for me, but
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
I think it's a wonderful opportunity. It's harvest.
That,
It's harvest for us.
Maybe do a reminder next meeting about it too.
well, let's just have, it's gonna be either yes or no on March 20th of the equalization. So we'll just, everybody see if they can
Okay.
get their affairs in order by then. and-
Okay. Sounds good.
No, it's at least three because it's Jarrett, you and I.
Yep.
So I know we fear going, so
I mean, you came back and you said there was a lot of great stuff. So
yeah, there was a lot of
That's
stuff
good.
there. There's a lot to take
But
in.
I don't
my curious mind would want to go to the other workshops, like just.
So I don't think we have to be there for all three.
You don't have to be there for all 3 days. The first 2 days are the main
That's the most
stuff.
important too.
The third day does have some stuff, but not nearly as much as the rest.
Okay.
It's they've got they usually they had a speaker just kind of explaining best practices stuff, but it was all over for cybersecurity and stuff like that.
So it'd be pretty much, I mean, if we went Monday would be the second, we can head out Monday after, go Tuesday, Wednesday, we can probably even head back Wednesday. So really, we'd only need to really probably stay Monday or Tuesday. We wouldn't have to stay that third day.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to see Thursday. So
I mean, I'd be interested in going. I just gotta see if that would work out.
So
because they start at it's 8 o'clock in the morning when everything starts. And it doesn't get done till like 5 or so. And then usually they've got stuff going on even later than that. But that's just kind of more entertainment stuff.
What, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yep.
Well, I'd be pretty much through the whole week. I'd start Tuesday and then Friday.
Okay.
But I think we could head out Monday, stay there Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe even head out Wednesday or do Thursday. So we can talk about that. Just see if
Well,
anybody-
we want to head out on Friday, or
no,
or Thursday
No.
evening because it's the 3rd through the 6th because the Friday's the last day.
Yep. I think
Yeah.
you said the third one wasn't much going on that day.
Yeah, the Friday is including the 3rd day. Because the last day because
Why don't we wait till we decide where to go?
yeah, sorry. Tuesday was the first day. That Tuesday there wasn't much going on. That one was
Okay. So
that one wasn't much going on either because that one was just a golf tournament.
so we could
and-
technically head out Tuesday,
Yeah, and
stay
then
Monday or Wednesday, and then we could leave Thursday after
Yeah.
everything's all done.
Yep. Those were
If we wanted to, or we could leave Friday morning.
you probably want to leave Friday morning because
I don't have to.
they
2 days.
it goes late for those 2 days.
Okay.
They got stuff going on like all day, and depending upon if Banner's going out there,
Oh, I can't. 'cause I'm-
Weston went out there last year, here, and he
Yeah, they don't
invited,
give-
Banner invited all, everybody who
Volunteer
worked with
hours?
him
Yeah.
out for
Only
supper.
for full-time.
Or I think it was
Oh, I was gonna
Thursday.
say the same for
Okay.
And that went a good while.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Julie was curious on doing it too. I think she was kind of.
Maybe we'll see when it gets closer.
So we just gotta know by March 20th. Yep.
Yep.
Give a yes or no.
Then try and get the hotel at the Ramco. I'm sitting here trying to figure out a hotel in Deadwood. It's just.
My sister has an Airbnb in Deadwood. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Fair enough. You're home.
Got your crew.
You've got to stay Thursday night to Friday morning. So if it's midnight, you leave, you're home by 6. I look at sleep a lot differently.
So we'll move on to the Sioux Metro communication antenna. So we kind of had that discussion about that antenna again, put it on the top or on our water tower.
Mhm.
So I did talk to our lawyer about that. We don't want to be held liable for anything, even if like the tower broke and flew off and landed in someone's house. We don't want that. So they talking with John today. Thule was going to come up and try and talk to us, but he got sidetracked or whatever. But if we do agree, they'll send up a contract, which Patrick was like, okay, if they send up a contract, it's going to be kind of more or less a hold harmless that we'll be removing all our rights to that antenna causing any damage like we won't.
If it falls off.
If it falls off. So if they don't send in that contract, we'll make them sign harmless that we're not going to be liable with that tower or the antenna.
They pay them any money.
No, because it's
benefiting the community.
We're in a, like, you heard Monty saying we're kind of in that dead zone, so.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, we
more of a
can't
life-saving-
get out.
Chad, you probably know a little bit more on that.
So
too,
we
don't
have, we have repeaters so we can get out better.
Mhm.
Well, you have to have that repeater on in the truck in order to use it. So, yeah, it's a lot of times you can't get out at all on your radios.
So Randy did send me a picture. I don't know. If
I was gonna say, did we get an updated
wanna-
picture of the
anybody
building?
wanna see what that's what he said? It's not huge by any means, so.
No, yeah, we've, yeah, we saw it last.
Oh, you said.
Did we get an
I
updated
have
picture
that.
of what the little like remoting or the access building that
No,
they're
I
gonna
didn't
build
get
on the
that.
property yet?
We just need we didn't get anything on that, what that little building will look like.
Is that something we can ask for just so we know?
Well, it's not a
We
very
did.
big building.
Mhm.
It's pretty tiny, so it's probably no different than what we kind of have right over there right now, so.
I thought we asked for it at last meeting.
We did. that's
Mhm.
what
Yeah,
I
he was gonna
thought.
come in this meeting, but he didn't make it in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and then Randy's anniversary.
I don't know, it makes the community safer
Yeah,
I think it's a wonderful thing.
because it's the same excuse the sheriff gives us too. As these people in the sheriff's department and
well, that's what John's, for some reason, you get to hear, and it's just a dead zone. Patient, so.
the same thing those 2 deputies said.
Which this system's a pretty expensive system, so it's a great, I mean, they've been working, Ramby's been working hard trying to get this to come up here. Finally got them to.
There's no cost to the city and no cost to the fire department. So,
Win-win.
So,
Whenever I hear sirens, I turn on my little walkie-talkie app and listen to y'all. I know it'd be like that.
I came up
Okay.
over the hill today coming home from work. It's like, oh crap, look at all the lights.
I gotta call my wife the second
Big
responder.
blinking
What
lights
was that at?
right at the
Not the first.
trailer
Second
court.
responder.
first trailer there.
Here in town?
Hold Ron out again.
Oh, they did?
What happened?
Hold Ron out again.
Any more discussion on that?
Occurrence.
If not,
What is-
need a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second it.
Second. Well, hold on. I'm gonna maybe have you sustain since you're on the fire department.
Okay, then
I'll make the motion then.
Just to make sure.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both aye. Okay. Just to make sure we're prim and proper
I get
on
it.
that, Sharon.
You don't like me anymore. It's okay.
No, I do.
My vote don't.
You just didn't say anything.
Yeah.
You be quiet.
Okay,
Not my strength.
so, Seth printed off the job descriptions that we're kind of looking for here. Coming up.
Yep, there's 3 of them. There's one for the lifeguards, which is a combination of what Diane sent me and what we had. Then the pool manager, which is same deal. And then the code enforcer, or I got that from the city of Harrisburg sent me theirs. And that's all I've got so far for code enforcer job descriptions. So
Anybody want to add to it or?
Diane, did you guys take this pool lifeguard from somebody else?
No,
I
I
found
made
it.
most of it and then, he found one online, so we just combined them.
I found one in our files. Yeah.
Yeah. But mostly what I had typed up, he had already found, so.
We should maybe add on that too, since we did take over concessions, they might have to run concessions for ball field.
Are we gonna do that again this year?
We haven't,
That was gonna be when I was doing this, I was thinking about that.
that was kind of what Grace always did,
Yeah, she did. We've done it for the last 2-3 years.
because when she's just doing concessions for, so maybe we can add,
We can update this.
just add that the
Yeah.
responsibility is, you know, supplying, make sure the concession stands and pool concession stands are.
What was that? Was their job? They're having stocked.
Haven't stocked, that's what, yep, haven't
Okay,
stocked.
so just put
And then,
add another line concession stands. Both pool and ball field will
be maintained.
be maintained and fully stocked.
And fully stocked and force, cause they gotta
Man.
Staff.
Yeah.
Staff 'em.
That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah,
And cleaned as well.
cleaned, yep.
Right.
Yeah, that'll go under pool manager, yeah. Yeah, I could probably go with the 4th bullet and just add to that one. Management of concessions inventory at both ball field and pool house.
Do you have a lifeguard one at all?
There was-
Prior? Not, well, I just see because the pool lifeguard, oh, okay, never mind. I thought it was a bullet point. I just read that wrong at the beginning. I thought it was a bullet point of pool manager.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So roles and responsibilities and preferred skills.
Which one, yeah?
So I'm on lifeguard.
Okay.
So I think there's stuff in preferred skills that actually should be considered a role and responsibility. And maybe it needs to be worded a little differently, but checking chemicals, I mean, that should be something that's part of their responsibilities and roles. I mean, to maintain the chemicals of the pool. I mean, I know
Yeah, we can move them, yeah.
preferred skills to me
Now, when you're
is
talking about maintaining the chemicals and stuff, you're talking about.
they have to
just
do the
checking.
chest strips.
They do,
Yeah.
Because you're not
So-
maintaining the chemicals, you're just.
checking.
Checking, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what I'm saying. I think we
See
need
if they can open.
Yeah, because Pete doesn't maintain.
Yeah, because I say,
Right.
because you get, chemicals.
Well, there's, on there, it says
Checking
checking of
chemicals.
chemicals. And that's gotta come up under responsibilities.
I think the other one, handle money and run concessions.
That's responsibilities. So the only thing
I-
that need to be under skills is that one.
Because to me, preferred skilled is kind of that first bullet point. You want
Yeah.
someone that's dependable, honest, hardworking.
do the,
That's not a
pretty much any forcible work that you're gonna be doing would be under.
I was gonna say anything that's gonna, so you gotta look at this from when we're looking at a job description, when we come to the time that we're gonna do a performance evaluation or evaluation on the employee, you're evaluating them on their roles and responsibilities. Did they meet the requirement? Does it need work? Does it need work? Did they meet requirement or did they exceed the expectation? If it's not listed under those roles and responsibilities, that's going to be where our mind should go back to when it comes to performance. Preferred skills is a polite suggestion saying that we would like them to have those things. However, their job role performance is not necessarily based on it. So like to me, I would think part of their roles is to maintain a safe chemical level in the water, which no, they are not putting the chemicals in the water, but they still have to maintain the pH stress and making sure that they're checking it. Attend mandatory lifeguard trainings. That should be part of their role. They have to have continuing education. I think anything money handling, money related.
Let's just go back to the,
That's not the right one.
well, it must be. So I think the, pretty much,
So.
I think the
CPR and
first,
first aid is, that's a skill.
I think you're pretty much your first
Aren't
6
on
bullet
here.
points.
Actually, just about all of them.
And then pretty much the next page can probably go under all.
Yeah.
And maybe we need to consolidate some of these. Maybe we can rework the.
No, we just need to re-hit them. So if you put your responsibility, roles and responsibilities where the preferred skills is, that'd be easier than changing all these or copying and pasting. And roles and responsibilities are, because there isn't very many skills that you have. Okay. This is a roles and responsibility.
Like a skill to me is to say that you can act quickly or you can act quickly in emergent
Work as a
situations.
team is a skill.
Yeah, you can.
That's a skill. This is a role and responsibility.
A skill is something you can be taught.
Right.
Right.
So like,
this is.
Thank you. I was losing my
Checking
wording.
chemicals is a.
Because like counting money,
Mhm.
that is a skill.
It is skill, but we also need to be.
And a money count change back and complete.
We need to
paperwork.
have a portion of that
That's
to
a-
be part of their role because they will
Yeah.
have cash handling responsibilities.
Be organized,
in their role.
being organized is a skill.
Because the lifeguards float to the concession area. So like you can't have a lifeguard that's just, I mean, I love the fact that they're just there to provide service to the people in the pool, but if they have to cover the concessions, you have to have someone that's basic math, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Being able to add. Okay, so this is.
If there's another one, Diane, we could look at that too.
I don't know, is when we combine these,
Because we also have to remember that if we throw, because we've got over half a dozen role and responsibilities.
out of all them on the second page, I've got 3 skills. And all the rest of them are roles and responsibilities.
You gotta remember, this is also a 16-year-old kid.
Right. That's why I'm trying to this role and response. So when you
Gotta start
have,
them out young.
Well, we don't want to scare them off with a long.
that's what I'm getting at is that maybe needs to be, what are the things that define their role? I mean, you need safety, obviously, the patron safety. You need them to maintain a clean, sanitary work environment. That means, maintaining the cleaning.
Yep.
You need them to have the CPR, the first aid, the readiness to perform those acts if necessary. You need someone that's willing to enforce the pool rules and regulations. I mean, there are things I would like to see because, like I said, based on what we did last time for that performance reveal, I don't know if we need more. I mean, I would say anything more than 7 would be pushing it in roles or responsibilities.
Yeah, but you still need to know that they're gonna be honest.
Yep.
You need to come down here.
Yep, and we can still put those in preferred skills, but I'm talking about when this come the end of the year and we're sitting here going, so what do we grade this person on? Where do we say that they need improvement? They did well. Where could they improve at? I don't know if we don't need 15 bullet points to grade this individual on.
I think max 6. I think we can fit.
That's what I'm,
Okay, so which ones
Well, I think,
would you move from here to here? None?
well, I think there's some that are kind of double dipping.
I think a little bit, some of them are crossed over, because
Yeah,
like you
crossed
have
over,
some
yeah.
over here that say, like, perform cleaning duties, bathroom, guard room.
Okay, so that's
pool
not gonna
area.
roll as, okay, so you could take that one out of the preferred skills.
Well, and maybe we can take this off just for the, I mean, maybe we just table this so we can.
Yeah, maybe
That's-
you guys
yeah.
want to-
Yep, table and see if
Yeah.
whoever wants to
This-
go through it applies it.
Because I would say that the job description, we want all of our descriptions to look uniform because it's coming from the same employer. So unless this pool manager job description is in a different format than what I'm seeing, I would prefer that it follows in line more towards what we did for the lifeguard where it's broken out. 'Cause
This, yeah,
you get what I'm, so like,
The thing is, once they get hired, we can give them a checklist of the things
Right.
that we-
yep. Yeah, there's gonna be like a basic, expectation
So you're
of the
gonna
pool
do-
lifeguard and expectation of the manager.
Orientation.
Yep. It's just this job description, since we implement the performance evaluations, it's just, we have to remember that when we're sitting here and we're like, well, what do we grade them on? This is kind of our bread and butter as to what we go back to saying. Here are the things that we required of them. Here are the things that we like them to do. Did they do these things at the bottom well, or did they at least meet the requirements that we asked them?
No, you guys kind of want to just maybe
Yeah.
work together and kind of get that.
Yep.
Applies.
And I can just see if I'd like to have that get sent out before April.
oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
So the sooner the better. I mean, we don't need a vote on this, so if you guys,
Right.
you all three feel comfortable with it,
yeah.
just with how the wording is, just get it,
Let's
Clean it up.
clean it up, and then let's get it into the school.
I like the one for the code enforcer pending we remove the city of Harrisburg at the top.
Right.
I'm beginning to think you want to work for another city.
Not roll.
Oh, he just,
This is copy. I told you, this is a copy of somebody else.
I'm just teasing you.
Pass.
He's just testing out the waters. He wanted to see what it looked at on the resolution, what it
I'm
looked like
not
for
gonna
a
lie, I
job.
wouldn't want this job.
The code enforcer.
Why are we having a code enforcer? Like Hartford just got one like 3 years ago and like 3 times our size.
why are we getting the code enforcer?
Yeah. Do you understand like the frustrations and like almost WWE smackdowns in the street with the code enforcer from Hartford?
No. Well, I mean, we can.
He's a pain.
City. But I mean, that's.
Yeah,
The,
him and his wife.
the question is how far do you want to take this?
Well, that's the thing,
Because-
is what do you run us? I mean,
How much is this job? Like I'll go run around being.
Well, no. The whole deal is we have some people that aren't living up to code.
But you could call him in if you. I mean, we have.
I know, but
We
so
have
we,
those people
but we have
calling in.
either Seth or Pete trying to do it, or I or the neighbor to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's more or less just trying to be level across the whole board. And it's not, we're not going into depth of, hey, your deck looks kind of weird.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that depends on who you hire.
That's- I mean, that's
Hartford found quickly that the person they hired
yes.
was power tripping, and it
Well, and
I
that-
literally had somebody follow my son, recording him in our parking lot in Hartford,
yeah.
recording my minor child on a golf cart on my land. And then I got bombarded in letters, and I had to go in and say, look, we're on our own property. My son can ride a golf cart on our property. And why are you having people recording my minor child? That's creepy. I didn't know if it was somebody who was going to try to steal him. I mean, he was freaked out.
Yeah.
So this just, I live in a small town for a reason. I don't have any.
Well, the big thing
any
is like
amenities,
we're
and
having,
I'm not gonna have somebody coming in.
what we're
stomping on me.
looking at is ones with the down trees that don't get rid of them, you know, that are just laying in the yard.
And you need a person to tell you that they're out
Well,
of.
we,
He just-
Unfortunately, and we
Unfortunately,
have
Mhm.
broken
have
down
the-
cars.
the abandoned cars, you know, this is not like a high paying job by any means. This is more or less of
I just,
It's,
this
I mean,
money could be used better somewhere
It's,
else.
I mean, more or less, if somebody makes a complaint, they're gonna go out and verify it's a complaint. A valid complaint.
yeah, you're not spending every day going driving around.
No.
Then.
Yeah, you're not policing the town.
Then we need to take that out of this job description, because I seen it somewhere that, I'm trying to find it now.
How big of a job is this? I mean, what is this? Like an hour a day or?
No, it's not even a
Minutes a
daily
day?
deal. Like,
Mm.
we're not looking for a daily, like, you have to do this every day, go around.
We're just thinking if there's a complaint made, we have a,
It's not falling back on.
someone that's
me.
retired wants us to go out and say, okay, this
Okay,
neighbor
then-
called in this neighbor, is that a true complaint or are they just, they're mad at each other type of deal?
And then if you do see something that you, when you are out and about in town, they'd be like, hey, you know,
Just a heads up, you need to take care of this before the city.
Did we
has-
you have,
Did we budget for this in our budget for this job?
not yet. Well, I mean, this is really, we're not even looking. I mean, this is gonna be under a $600 a year job. You know what I mean?
Okay, then under the duties and responsibilities, the second to last bullet, operate private vehicle and patrol the city and provide enforcement of code violation. Do we really need to be patrolling the city?
No,
No.
no,
This is, also, this is just an example
Yep,
of what other.
no, I mean, this, yeah, well, this is what
But
we're
what,
going.
what I'm saying is if it's, I mean, more of, once it is called like, hey, you need to, can you go look at this, see if it is a violation?
Yeah,
You know, then we probably should take out the patrol portion is what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah, 'cause we don't
Because-
we don't want to police.
Yeah, because otherwise you're gonna get some dickhead in there. My job is to patrol.
That's gonna be me. I'm
Well,
gonna.
my question is, why can't, is there any way we can incorporate this in with the building inspectors people?
We could.
The pla- if-
Yeah, so
what
I
is
mean-
that?
I mean,
Planning and zoning?
What?
A building inspector.
It seems to me that whenever we got a problem with somebody in town, we send them a letter or something like that. Somebody goes and talks to them, it usually gets taken care of. You know, I don't see why we need to have one person specifically hired to do this job.
Because a lot of it's gonna come to you guys.
It is.
A good portion is already gonna come right through.
I'm
these
just trying to
guys.
take more of the load off of Seth and Pete, the flack of you guys are just coming in here.
There's very, I think, I would imagine, I don't know. I don't
Does anybody on the planning and zoning have interest in doing this?
Well, so
Makes
that
sense.
we can't have, so I'm getting an email, I got an email, the guy that does, that will be an inspector. We can't, because I know Lyle Jensen was curious about doing that, but he's on zoning and planning, so he had to remove himself from zoning and planning, which I'd rather have him stay on zoning and planning,
Mhm.
So you can't do both.
so he can't do both.
What is the inspector?
So
So-
we don't have a building inspector at all, period.
To ensure that when they come down and they give us plans as to how they're gonna build a fence or they're gonna move a building on their property, that someone goes out and validates that it's correct and
It's where they said it's gonna be.
Well, it's just like any building.
yes,
inspector.
it's
Like,
just
we don't
anything.
don't have no building inspector, structural, I mean.
Doesn't
you-
the
you can-
county take care of that?
Not,
No.
no, not.
County
no.
doesn't have jurisdiction.
So you go a mile out of town,
In
you have
town.
to have a good inspection. You come to Colton, you can build whatever you want. I mean, that has to stop because we could have somebody that comes out of town, doesn't care. Buy a house, remodel it, just buy it out, throw junk up, walk away, and then we're gonna have a house that's not working or get condemned because it wasn't done properly. And
Could
then,
we use the funds originally applied for this job and crank it into planning and zoning and allocate it via?
we
planning
could
and
probably
zoning?
do something on that.
That makes more sense.
I mean,
If
they
somebody's
would,
willing.
because that's the thing, they do fall under planning and zoning. So that's why.
The code
That's-
enforcement or
No,
the
the
inspector?
inspector, which would probably they'd both be under, because they'd have to follow under zoning and planning, or planning and zoning, and that's why Lyle can't
Mhm.
be a part
Do
of,
both.
be both of it. He either has to step off from zoning and planning and
Sorry.
become inspector, which I'd rather have Lyle. We don't have very many people on zoning and planning, so I'd rather have Lyle stay there. And I got an email on one guy that he does kind of several like smaller communities, so it's not like a full-time gig, so he'll come up here and do that, which technically, when you do a building permit, that's what your money's you spend on a building permit is to pay for the inspector.
And that's why we made it to where any of the permits or anything are not coming from the finance officer. They gotta be approved from planning and zoning. So this way you have eyes on everything and you have 4 or 5 members
Looking at it,
approving
saying,
that
okay, we need footing inspection, we need
versus,
electrical
yeah.
inspection, we need, electrical
Because-
comes from the state.
And this
so-
kind of stemmed from
Because
too with,
I just did one too that I had to go look at framing. And I said, your state is gonna be your electrical and plumbing.
Yep.
We need copies of that in order to get us to get the approval to finish it up.
and a lot of this stemmed too from, Chance is getting overloaded with people, hey, this and that. So it was kind of the code enforcer was kind of
Yeah, I've got
double dipping
a
off
lot of calls.
off of that.
For the code.
The code
Would it be
enforcer.
worth it to you?
Permits,
if you
everything.
got a Take a paycheck.
Oh,
I mean, if you're paid
necessarily.
for-
So it,
But then we'd have to we'd have to remove him from zoning and planning.
yeah, to be the inspector.
Being an inspector.
If I can interject, I don't think this job description is representing the goal of what that role would look like in our city.
I think this is too big.
So I think
Too much.
your guys' concern is going to possibly be resolved, or it could be lessened had this represented the goal of what Colton is trying to do. I think this is adopted, and very rightfully so, in Harrisburg. They have to be more strict with this, but I think this doesn't represent the reasoning why we felt that there was a necessary need for this person, and I don't think it represents what the plan is and what the call to duty of this individual would be. So I would, not that you guys don't have valid concerns, but I would just reserve it for a minute until we can get one that is actually reflective of our city, and then we can grade it based on that.
You're looking more for an inspector, a code enforcer.
Well,
Because I
a little
think of
bit
the
of
guy
both.
in Hartford when I
Kind
did
of both,
this.
yeah.
Kind of
Yep.
both.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like your yard code.
I agree. I think we should just table this for now until we get something a little different. This is too in depth.
Yeah, because
But it's good to
I bet
see.
I-
I
Yes,
mean,
it is very good to see. Yeah. It gives us something to look at, gives us something more to think about.
Yeah, I just don't know if this represents what we're trying to
This
do.
is way beyond what we
Yeah.
want.
And just,
Job getting
the
it.
thing is because,
Job
I
getting
know
hold of
some
it,
people
though.
get letters. And then there's some people don't, so then you get the flack of, well, neighbor, blah, 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 doesn't get anything, why am I? And that's where I'm trying to do the whole, we're not out there trying to just knock it, but we gotta be level across the board. If someone's gonna get a letter, then we all have to play on the same field. I mean,
This person can also be an asset in that conversation. So if this resident gets a letter, has questions, this person that, maybe code enforcer is not the appropriate word, but this person that knows the codes very well could then help that resident understand. Like, it wouldn't be on Seth's plate, it wouldn't be on planning and zoning's plate. We have somebody that just knows the ins and outs of codes, and this person can be a resource for them instead of them sitting there reading this letter going, I don't even know what this means. What do you mean my vehicle's too close to the property line? And this person could be that resource for them. So I think once we can,
It just sounds like another middleman though. It's still
Mm.
bouncing through the same people.
But it's
You
a
just have
third
another
party.
paycheck
yeah.
to pay. My opinion from, I mean, we are cranking a lot of money out of our city and this just seems really silly for how small we are. It seems like silly spending. But if we're gonna spend, we might as well spend it on the guys who are already doing it, that it's gonna be bouncing
But
off
we
of
can't.
anyway.
that's, yeah, they already have a role in the city.
Zoning, planning, so because the inspector and, well, we can group them together. Let's just say, let's group the inspector and code enforcer together. They have to answer to zoning and planning. They fall under zoning and planning. I mean, council eventually truly hires them, but they go under, so Chaz can't be his own boss under zoning, you know what I mean?
So right now, if I have work I do, who
Uh-huh.
comes in and inspects it?
Nobody. That's the problem. That's
So
the issue.
what are we paying
So-
permits for?
That's exactly my issue with it all. It's our permits are just getting,
Just free money to the city.
Well, no, it goes to the county.
I've been just going out just on my own and checking stuff, make sure it's done right.
I mean, the biggest, that was my biggest alarm, and I've been pushing for an inspector since I got on council, because my biggest alarm was when I built my addition on that. I called in and said, hey, where's our footing inspector's number and all that? We don't have one.
Hartford just has a seriously part-time guy.
Yeah, and this guy would be a part-time guy, but that's a very alarming to me, because that means you could have someone come that doesn't give a shit about this community, just throw up something, walk away, and then now we got a building that's either,
Or one of our citizens is getting screwed in the long run.
yes.
Which-
And then now they got
which-
a building that could be condemned, and then now we're in bigger trouble. You know, I mean, we're not in trouble, but okay, now you got a building that's condemned, X dollars down, you know, everything. I mean, that's the worst of scenarios. Let's be real. I mean, let's hope it doesn't happen that way, but we got to have some sort of inspector.
I think Hartford, he comes into town when something needs to be inspected, and then he just fills it through.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is basically the same thing.
Yep.
yeah.
They're gonna have a inspector hired, but it's gonna be,
Whenever we need him
On
on
an
call
on-call
type of
basis.
deal.
Yeah.
And we'll write it up to where you have, just like you call the one call, you have 24 to 48 hours for that inspector to show up. So,
shit, you off electrical inspector, it's 2-3 weeks
mhm.
for them to show up. You call the state.
Well, I'm just for an example,
Yeah.
just so we can have something in there to where they have, once you give a notice, we
Just-
have this much time to get that inspected.
And this is another recommendation. I mean, you know Lyle, right?
I'm terrible with names. I'm sure I know his face.
He was the
He bought
older guy
Mickey's
when we
house.
were in here.
Big gray house just down by
Oh,
crossing
yeah.
Josh Roof.
He's on planning. Okay.
Yeah, he's on planning and zoning. I mean, this is his recommendation too. Just some stuff that I got put over by his place, you know, that he's like, why is that even allowed?
Right, but all he has to do is just keep bugging you guys.
But we don't have anybody we didn't have anything implemented beforehand to say, you know.
My question is does the inspector have to be licensed?
No, so I asked about that, and which I think we send him through, depending on, he should have some sort of certification.
Certifications, yeah.
Yes. So,
How do we enforce ordinances at all then? At this moment, so I would call Seth and say, whatever, my neighbor parked their fence a foot on my property, as example.
And then it goes through plan and zoning now.
Zoning.
But now, like,
Or the
if I called the city and said, my neighbor ain't mowing his backyard and he has pools filled with black dirt, kiddie pools.
Who enforces any ordinance? Do we need an enforcer to enforce
but
any
I
ordinance?
mean, that's where we're trying to get who does. I mean, there is no actual role. Nobody in the.
It's pushed off on Pete and Seth right now,
Or the planning and zoning
or
committee.
the planning and zoning.
So these individuals that are paid a very minuscule amount of money are getting routine phone calls to do something that eventually in what we've identified as a part-time role. So, and again, that's where I think I really wish maybe we hadn't looked at this job description, because I think the way that we can present this as this person that could be a dual role, they can be that inspector. At the same time, they can be an educator. Maybe an enforcer is not an appropriate wording for this, but they could be an educator. So if you look at it from the other side of it, you're saying that we don't necessarily need it. If someone were to move in next to you, build this just monstrosity of a shed, and it's right in line of sight, you now have issues where it's close enough to the property line that you think they're breaking a law, and then all of a sudden you come to us and say, well, guys, I want to make a formal complaint. It goes to the planning and zoning. One of those individuals has to come out to your house, determine it. This person then becomes that resource where the planning and zoning can make the decision and the discretion based on the findings. The person has already gone out to the field and determined, yes, that is correct. It is too close to the property line. It doesn't meet the height requirements. It doesn't have footings, things like that. So I think we need to look at this and again, when you look at this from a larger perspective, we're going to start seeing more residents. When the Garrett's Addition expands, we're going to have people that have played by different rules. They've come from cities, larger cities. They've come from farming communities where they could have built a building and no one cares. So I think that's where we have to start looking at this from a larger scope versus just this small town community, Colton. And I agree. I don't think we need a babysitter driving around and looking at people's backyards. But again, it's that support mechanism where planning and zoning is not obligated to go out and not enforce these, but go out and inspect everyone.
So we don't have just random hearings that are totally
Well,
not
so,
necessary.
well, that's the, so it's used as your neighbor's example.
Yeah.
Right.
You could call Joe Smith or whatever, hey,
Right.
who's our code enforcer, and be like,
Come
neighbors
to-
complaining about this. Are we in? You'd be like, oh, you're fine.
So
You
Seth
want-
would have called this person, that person.
And then
would've
you
went
wouldn't
out
have had
and
to
said,
come and set
"Not
up, then she
necessary."
wouldn't have to come in and
Okay.
pay,
Yep.
Yep.
That a person would have came up for me, scratched around right next to the corner post, found the pin
Okay,
Mhm.
in like 10 seconds.
Because technically,
I see.
Chaz can go out there and say, yeah, okay, that's in compliance. But he doesn't really necessarily have the authorization to be like, yeah, that's in, or say, yeah, this is something that we need to look at,
Like, if I were to go look at a fence, say, they have lines up, you can tell it's on the neighbor's property. Well, then I'd have to call, notify the city as a planning side of it, let them know, then they have the option to send cease and desist letter, have a cop show up with that letter
Right.
and get it squared away,
I see.
type of
Okay.
deal.
or vice
Okay.
versa.
Well, that makes more sense. I think. I just thought, all I saw was cold.
But I think
Somebody tunes in my
we should
camera.
table this too until we
Camera out.
Yeah.
we can kind of refine everything and see how we wanna.
I think this is good. I mean, I think we cast the net really large.
And pick and choose. And
Yeah,
make it
but
our
we
own
can
out
go
of here.
through and
Yeah, make it our own.
understand. I mean, I think like you guys said, the word patrol is not going to be,
It's a little hard.
And
it's not going to be received well.
And we need to change the position. City code official, we should maybe, like they're talking, let's combine it where. If
We
we're
can do
gonna
an
do that.
inspector and court.
Inspector,
We could play with
Enforcer.
wording on that because even that code
Enforcer.
even that inspector is going to automatically assume responsibilities of continuing on ongoing education to citizens of the current codes and how that works. So, I mean, really, I think we can look at it from a broader perspective and cover a lot of it in roles and
Well,
responsibilities.
let's put in another perspective. When Heather was here, it put her in a bad spot.
Yep.
That she got, why are you making that decision? There's a lot of people.
There was
so
a
we're
lot
taking,
of that.
taking that out of the whole equation. She got put in a bad spot on that situation.
She did, because she got me every single day with Cody Wynot's dog in my yard.
Yeah, so I
Pointing
mean,
at
so
me.
she, that wasn't her role,
I got a solution.
when she's a,
22 cents.
when she's a finance officer, that wasn't her role. But,
In a
not,
small town though, I mean.
yeah, I mean, it is a small town. Like I said, this isn't a high paying job, so,
Right.
I mean, what are you talking, like $25 a month?
I mean, if that is, so, I mean, it'd be under, I mean, like, we're gonna be moving on to the next thing, if we can stay under the 600
Mhm.
a year. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking maybe $50 a month, under $50 a month,
And we want to do it mostly $49.99 because then we're staying under 600 then.
Yeah.
Oh, so you don't have the W-2.
Yep. Or that's the next thing we're
so
talking
I'm
about.
getting a pay decrease.
Well, and we have to keep in mind too that,
Horses are not dead.
well, and we got to keep in mind too that
Lasted a long time ago.
anything that that is brought forward, unless there's like a complaint made or a complaint filed, the city can't take action on it. So we got to remember that too, that this person can help guide those conversations. Because if they come out and, like you said, they're looking around, they're like, this isn't a problem. Like, no, like they're in compliance where it saves money and dollars that the city doesn't need to entertain. We don't need to reference our attorney to say, hey, does this meet ordinance? Are we reading this correctly? So there is, in the bigger picture too, it does allow us to save some funds in that sense, that we're not looking at every single complaint, that the person can go out and do an inspection.
And I appreciate you. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
immediately was.
Yeah, because if we had that in place, I wouldn't have needed to talk to Patrick to make sure those notices were correct. We wouldn't have needed to have that planning and zoning meeting. We would have been money ahead if we just, we would have been still money ahead.
Yeah.
Well, we'll move forward here. So planning and zoning payroll, just going back to what we're talking about, looking at doing a deduction That's like $49.99. So
Yep, if we do that, I don't have to send out W-2s and everything, because if we, since we're paying them $50, they make $600. That is literally the limit where that's like, you have to send them a W-2. If we change it up to $49.99, I don't have to send a W-2, saves time and hassle. They don't have to worry about it, you know.
So I don't know, just vote on it, I'll abstain, obviously.
I will abstain as well.
This one might, I have to,
Pretty new
I have
resolution.
to make an amendment to the
But
resolution.
you
I
guys
just-
want to go down that road.
I'm fine with that. I think people will appreciate not having an extra W-2 for a penny.
Mhm.
12 cents.
Yep.
That is it.
So you can reimburse me.
Okay.
I asked
get
Matt
on
if he had a penny on it.
You need 12 cents. It's a
Any
penny
more
a month.
discussion? If not, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Yes.
I'll second.
Right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Oh.
Joe, I have a question for you.
Better make it quick, because 4 o'clock in the morning comes quick.
Yep.
Curious.
I'll get that.
Minutes over.
Yeah, I'll
This is-
bring them over tomorrow.